Ball Alley.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
On a podcast hopefully not interrupted by power cuts.
And Robert Kemp.
Or Rob's squeaky chair, apparently.
Yeah.
It's all squeaks around here at the moment.
All squeaks. I just noticed when I did the intro, that was the bit I leant back to try and create that little bit of distance between me and the mic, and it just went. That's the true cue today.
The true cue is the sound of your chair.
A bunch of squeaks of various kinds. And hopefully no power cuts.
Hopefully no power cuts. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing.
Why have you suffered any lately?
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally like between me and Rob is separate power grids, but apparently he's had them as well. I've had them worse, apparently.
Yeah, I think you have. And I only had one that interrupted a gaming session. How dare
Completely unexpected, right?
Oh, yeah.
Blue.
No
they don't
warning.
tell you what's going on, do they?
No, I mean, you can look it up. There's a website where you can look up what, like, power cuts and, like, recent power cuts. But then when there's been a power cut and they, like, put a reason on there, it's obviously some bullshit reasons. Or, like, so generic that it doesn't really mean anything. Like, I think the one that I normally see on these kind of power cuts where it's that little, where it drops for, like, a couple of seconds or whatever, is just like, our engineers had to reroute power. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything.
No. I mean, that's not the cause.
they had to do that to get your power back, I guess.
Well, yeah,
or
maybe.
Is the temporary switch? Is it like, are they expecting it to have gone like, you know, the fluctuation was enough to cause trouble? Is that what they?
Well, yeah, because I mean, we were talking about it yesterday at home, like what it could be, because like they've been happening like frequently over the last couple of years, frequently for power cuts, I guess.
Sure.
But they're always these little tiny, like, it goes off and then it comes back on for a second and then it goes off again. And if you're from our house, you can hear it, like, tripping the transformer over the railway.
Oh, wow.
Like, you can hear it, like, arc or whatever when it breaks.
Oh,
when
that's cool.
Cuts the line. So it's obviously something.
Where is it? Like, is it obviously within hearing distance? But can you see that?
I mean, it's the power line that goes through that little wooded area on the other side of the train tracks from my house. That's only going to help Dan, really, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay, but still pretty close.
Because that was the power line that got taken out by a tree a couple of years ago, and we had that whole like several days power cut when they had to come and fix that. But so, I mean, you could assume that it's like, maybe it's just like a bit of tree hitting the line and earthing it and blowing it out. But I don't know if it is, because it's happening so regularly. You'd think that, you know, that's the kind of thing that after the first time it had happened, you'd expect them to come and just like look at the lines and be like, oh, cut those trees off.
Yeah, and do that pretty sharpish, right? There's no real reason to leave
the
it.
network's good enough to know when that's happened.
Well,
like,
I mean,
automatically.
I'm sure they have some. Well, they probably know that it's grounded, I would imagine. They can probably sense that kind of power spike where it dumps the ground if it's shorting off something.
Sure.
Obviously, I don't know how much area is connected past that one, because it must. I'm pretty sure that line covers, because it doesn't. As we said, it doesn't connect to you, because you seem to be on a separate bit of the grid.
Yeah.
So I think that line must go just to Needham mainly. But I think when you look at it on the map, it covers like 3 postcodes or something. Usually, when our power goes out, it's like all that area down towards. Yeah,
because I know our power is mostly, or at least a good portion of it, is somehow linked to an overhead line or something that. Well, I mean, look, last year when we had that, well, not last year, it was earlier this year in the storm, right? And we lost power. It was because the tree fell on the line. I'm pointing, which doesn't really help anyone listening, but like just over there. And but it was like, yeah, it landed. I guess that must have just caused enough of a spike that it tripped something, as opposed to that being the actual problem for the power cut, right? Because they wouldn't push that over a crappy little overhead line, would they, around here? Do you think? Would it all be underground?
Oh, well, man, there's no reason for it not to be an overhead wire.
Yeah, I guess,
because it's a lot like. I mean, I guess this area is slightly modern, but not that modern.
It's not hugely modern. I mean, we don't have gas.
Well, that's true. That's a different company entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's up with it. So it's getting very annoying. Even though it's still, like, you call it frequent and it's still, like, once every 2 months or something, but that's still first world problems annoying.
Yeah. In fairness, that sort of reminds me, is like, that's kind of how it's always been around here. I don't know.
Well, you've only lived here for like 2 years.
Well, back here, I suppose,
Yes.
for a year.
But there was definitely a few years before this where it was much better. I can tell you that.
Get it together, UK Power Network, or whatever the company's now called.
Still Eon, isn't it?
Is it? Does Eon actually manage the connectivity? I thought like that had like a government agency that actually dealt with that stuff.
Yeah, I thought it had been split out in UK power networks, but maybe that's just the national grid, is it? Instead, rather than the local grid,
right?
Like as in the high power lines.
Yeah, I've got no idea. Yeah,
I'm not actually sure. I should know because well, we should as well, Zach, because our parents work for the electricity board.
Well, yeah, but that was before it was even Eon.
No, it was still Eastern, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not even sure Eon are based around here anymore. I think they moved out, so it's like anyway.
Are they technically a French company anyway?
Yeah,
German.
I think they're French.
Okay, I thought they might have been German.
French
German.
sell us a lot of electricity, don't they?
I thought we were just getting into like a French.
Because they have all that nuclear power because they're not squeamish about it, right? I guess.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's true anymore, that they sell us there's so much energy
maybe
across that high voltage interconnect across the channel. Right?
I assume they're keeping more of it for themselves, hence the price is going up.
I don't think that's the answer.
Do we still get that? Do you reckon the UK has the EastEnders surge anymore?
Probably.
I don't know if that's still to the same extent. Like they still talk about it, so I don't know if it. Yeah, but surely it can't be like it used to be.
I mean, maybe they plan for it on certain occasions, like I don't know, big ass football matches, or like America must plan for it at the Super Bowl or something. But
Oh yeah. Well, America's system is a nightmare, isn't it? Because they don't have
they have different
multiple
problems.
grids, and the Texas grid is a disaster zone, right? And they lose power for like days and days.
Jeez.
When it's like, didn't that happen when it was like freakishly cold in Texas, which is obviously usually warm, and it was like snowing, and they lost power.
That's kind of acceptable for a reason for your power grid to go down. Completely ridiculous weather conditions is one of them.
You know how long ago the storm was around here, right? It was like 5-6 months ago.
Right?
No, not that storm.
It might as well be. It feels like it.
Not that storm. The recent one, the one that took out my power here for like nearly 2 days.
Like February, right?
Something like that. Yeah. That still plays on Gnome's mind a bit, to the point where she's bought a camping stove recently.
Just in case.
Well, I mean, because you don't have gas.
Yeah, we don't have gas. Like the oil boiler can't run without electricity.
Right.
But we have a.
You have a barbecue.
I've sorted the barbecue out now. We're like, it's not. Yeah, I sort of had that.
I don't think you can bring that inside the house, like.
No, definitely not. Like, I don't want to bring that massive propane tank inside. But
I mean, be prepared. Nothing wrong with.
No,
gas stove.
It just struck me as a slightly odd thing to do now, but never mind.
Now's the perfect time.
Yes, if you've already been warned by having it happen once, prepare for the next time.
Although a bit of me was thinking, well, if I just got an electric car, like one of those with a plug socket in it, then I could just power stuff off the car. It'd be fine.
See, I think
not for long though, probably, right?
They've got the average is about 70 odd kilowatt hours inside a car.
That was the thing that lined up perfectly with those, that Texas disaster or whatever, was then Ford.
Or what, the F-150s?
The F-150 electric massive pickup truck.
They have like twice that. They have like 150 kilowatts, I think, in them.
Exactly. And obviously everyone in Texas drives a Ford F-150, so it was like perfect advertising. Look, if you get the electric one, the next time the grid fails, you can power your house for like 2 days.
Yeah, not that
assuming your car's charged up.
Yeah, assuming your car's charged. Like, but all the changes like in electricity prices around here mean that like actually running an EV is now no cheaper than running a petrol car
at the moment.
Yeah,
I can imagine that. Yeah.
So all those lovely advantages.
But it's not like petrol's cheap, is it?
No, I know it's pretty expensive at the moment as well. But
yeah.
There's one specific car that I walk past on the way home from here that I can hear charging at night.
You can hear it?
Yeah, when I walk past it, it's like, oh, that one's electric. You can hear it going.
Transformer.
What kind of noise does it make? Is it sort of a wow wow? Or is it more of a...
It doesn't wow as much as just hum.
Just a zzz. We're not in that cool enough future yet where everything sort of has a sort of phasey sort of noise.
I don't think you want anything to have a phasey noise. That's actually worse. Large amounts of variations.
So and you walk past one of those like fusion coils in Halo, right? And it's making that sort of sort of noise. That's the future.
How is it even making a noise?
I don't know.
What is a fusion coil actually doing when it's just sitting there? Cooling itself, presumably.
Being extraordinarily dangerous and easy to throw.
And that was our segue to video games, I guess.
Yeah, we did it.
We found a route from power grids to video games.
I've got some house grouse, though, if you want to do that first.
Oh, okay.
So, I think I talked about this like ages ago when I was first started messing around with smart home stuff, and it's like
Right.
all my window sensors, and that I can ask it which windows are open and things like that. It's all based off smart things. And I got an email this week saying, "Oh, by the way, you know the platform all your custom stuff's running on? Yeah, we're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of that in a few weeks." And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, oh, great. So half of the cool stuff I've done with my smart home is just basically going to die.
Is that the company's failing, or is it?
It's smart things. They are to get more technical on it. There's a platform built on something called Groovy. Groovy, yeah, Earthworm Jim's favorite programming platform. And
literally, it's Groovy, as in the weird Java thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's been running in the cloud essentially mostly. So SmartThings is mostly a cloud-based system. So your logic effectively doesn't run in your house; it runs elsewhere and then comes back and tells you what to do. Mm-hmm. I think for a while that's been a problem for them because they don't want to run the servers for that anymore. So they're killing that off and coming up with new systems that will run on your hubs locally. That's like, why didn't you just start there? That was the better choice in the first place. And
at least give you plenty of notice.
Yeah, the problem is that there's no tool. Like I'm deep into a tool called WebCore that allows you to define really quite complicated rules and setups and things like that. And it's pretty. It's almost programming, but you have to use a GUI to. It looks like you're right, like code. If you go and look at the script, it presents itself like code with line numbers and proper if statements and all that stuff. But you're actually using a GUI to set it up, and it's like, can I not just write this?
Can I just write the code?
The GUI's nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it would be nice to just type some of that out. But anyway, that is going away, and the developers of it, because it's a third party community driven tool, they're not going to port it to whatever system SmartThings will end up using. And there's no other tool, as far as I can tell, as advanced as that available. So that's a bummer. It basically means like all my cool window checks and things like that are not gonna function.
That is really annoying.
It is annoying. I mean, that's the risk you take, I guess, of smart homes at the moment. They're all service driven, and if the service goes away, your capabilities go away.
And which services can you trust to stay up? Only the most. I mean, even presumably Amazon ones probably get deprecated sometimes.
Yeah, probably, maybe.
Or Apple ones or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, unless
they probably provide some kind of path to.
Unless you're driving everything totally locally on a community-driven system like Home Assistant.
Does that run on a?
It runs on a Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. And effectively drives which you can't get hold of either right now.
You can't buy a Raspberry Pi?
You can't buy a Raspberry Pi. They've been out of stock for friggin' ages.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and so yeah, if you're lucky enough to have pies, and like I think you don't need a huge amount of power for that stuff. Then yeah, you run Home Assistant on it. You've got to do a lot of work yourself. That's the problem, because it's all community made and community driven. You have to set up pretty much everything yourself, but it does mean you can do pretty much anything.
And there's no risk of it.
There's no risk. What's on your pie is what's on your pie. No one's going to kill it.
Right. It sounds like you put quite a lot of work into the cloud-based one.
I did, yeah. So yeah, I'll probably, I don't know. I'm in two minds whether to stick with it and try and come up with something crude for now, which is, because it just takes time. That's the problem. It's like, it was fun at first, but once you get it working and all that, it's like, right, cool, that's done. It's like, and then when something breaks, it's kind of not fun to come to, because you're not creating something new. You're trying to get back what you had.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah.
Maybe that's a corollary to corpse runs in games. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know. Corpse run can be a fun mechanic, but yeah, it depends. Not everyone likes it.
I'm gonna have to corpse run my smart home. Anywho, that was my house grouse. Not really like
well, it's kind of
technical house grouse.
It's definitely grouse, that's for sure.
Yeah,
cool.
It's sort of, I can't blame them. It does make sense, right? Like the business reasons for them doing it. I get it, but it's still annoying.
Provide some kind of path to running that same logic on your local. If that's
they're working on something. It's called Rules API, but it's
right.
I don't think there's the tool. As I say, the third party tooling for actually using it, I don't think exists yet, and it's that's the problem.
I see. All right. Video games is the subject of this podcast, I believe. Often.
Often. Not always.
Mostly. And we've had a few news items this fortnight.
Yes, so we even get to finally say Nintendo did a thing.
Nintendo did something. And not a a partner direct or anything.
Not even just one of their little things, an actual thing.
A full-on Nintendo direct.
But
it's like
E3.
that one
last, I guess.
Yeah, I plan to get to that one, get one at the back of this. I mean, there were like 4 different events, I think, but I've only really noted stuff from 3 of them. I can't even remember what the 4th one was now, but like there was Ubisoft Forward, a Sony State of Play, Nintendo Direct. Xbox did do a minor thing for the Tokyo Game Show, but it was incredibly minor. I haven't really got any notes from that. Yeah, there we go. That's what we're gonna talk about.
We start with Ubisoft then.
Ubisoft, went first.
I guess a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed.
It was so cookie cutter Ubisoft. I mean, like, okay, maybe the most interesting thing that I haven't actually written a note about was Mario plus Rabbids in this whole thing.
That doesn't count.
Because, it's more Mario plus Rabbids.
And it's like basically out, and they've already been talking about it a bunch beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's just like a pre-launch trailer type thing.
Kind of. They actually went pretty deep. Like here's a gameplay scenario.
They should have given that to Nintendo, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they did get mentioned in the Nintendo Direct as well. But
that one was just like a trailer.
That was real quick. Yeah. But yeah, a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed, because we've hit 15 years of Assassin's Creed now.
Oh gosh.
Feels like more.
Feels like more.
It kind of does.
Yeah, since the very first game, and so they made a big deal at the end of the show, basically saying like, oh, here's a whole bunch of new stuff. So the first of which is, they were saying, hey, we're going to do a Netflix show, not a game, but they're going to try again with the
live action,
other media.
Assassin's Creed.
They should have just made another movie.
What, make a good one this time?
Yeah, try again.
I still haven't watched that, in fairness. I kind of want to.
No.
I kind of want to.
It's probably got some good sequences in it.
Yeah.
Is it Michael Fassbender? Or
it's Fassbender and, wasn't it? Is it Marion Cotillard? Is that how you pronounce it?
Marion Cotillard.
Yeah. Who's normally awesome.
Isn't it? Like, who directed that?
I don't know. I know the Animus is now a massive arm and not a table.
It's not that much difference. It's just like going down from above and up from below.
Yeah, I think they're sort of like swinging your body around or something whilst you're in this thing. Like
physics simulation.
True VR.
Yeah.
So there's that. They didn't really say much more about it than that. Then we got a little look at something called Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's kind of going back to sort of the Arabian roots, I suppose, of the series.
Right. But I was watching and I was confused whether it's a reboot of the original, but it's not.
It's not. No, it's a different character, different.
Not Altair.
Not Altair. No.
It's almost 100% guaranteed to show up though.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fine.
Because I think the castle, the sort of assassin's castle, is the same one.
Right.
That was in the first game.
That's where the assassins actually in history are, like in Syria, right? Weren't they in the Crusades? I think that's where.
No idea.
It comes from. Anyway.
But the interesting thing about that is they didn't position it as one of their open world Assassin's Creed games. They were kind of positioning it as sort of a bit more action adventure-y, like a bit more narrative driven. And it's like, okay, you might actually be onto something here, because Assassin's Creed is so daunting now. It's like, because Origins and Valhalla and Odyssey are just huge games.
Yeah, so big.
And and as good as they may be, and as kind of neat as Valhalla looked and stuff like that, I just had my that's too big. That's too much. I'm not sure. It's not work. The size is actually working against you with me. But the way they're positioning Mirage is this might actually be what I'm looking for. Something a little more focused.
That's interesting. Yeah. I wonder if that'll become a trend. Well, we'll see. I don't know. The more focused games I don't know, but
well, I wouldn't hold your breath because they announced 2 more open world that they did describe as big open world games.
Oh, okay.
Well, they had technically announced 3, but one of them was Assassin's Creed Jade, as it's called right now, codename Jade.
Set in China.
That's set in China and is a mobile-based Assassin's Creed game.
Okay.
So we won't play that. But hey, China sounds like a cool setting, but not as cool as Codename Red, which is going to be, Japan. Feudal Japan, samurais and stuff. And it's like,
okay.
They finally did it.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Yes, but last year we had. Oh, what? No, even the year before. I don't know. What's the one we have that's in Japan that's Assassin's Creed like?
Are you thinking of Ghost of Tsushima? Or?
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. That's a little bit Assassin's Creed-ish, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they'll have to stand apart from that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, you've pretty much got me with that. You love that stuff.
Yeah, fair.
But they've been to China before, I think, with
Ghost of Tsushima, though?
No, I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay. I know you're interested in that.
Yeah, I know. I really do want to play it, but it's just big game I don't own. That's that problem.
Big open world, yeah.
Yeah. And also, they did. It's in that awkward place where it's like it's on the PlayStation, and do I want a PlayStation 5 now?
Right.
In order to enjoy it to its best, it's slight awkwardness when you haven't got a PS5.
That's true.
And it might get a PC release the way Sony are going.
Yeah, that's true. They're committing to put their first party stuff on PC, aren't they? Yeah. I think you'd have more fun playing Yakuza, but there you go. Tsushima.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Anyway,
you're probably right.
So we got Mirage, we got Red,
and they're also doing Hexy, codename Hexy, which they didn't talk about hardly at all, but is sort of, I guess, it had a sort of Blair Witch vibe from their teaser trailer. Sort of, witchy, I guess. Hence Hexy, I suppose.
Oh, I see.
It had sort of bits of twigs in trees and that sort of formed the Assassin's logo. That's all we really know. No, not a huge amount there. But hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And they also told us what Assassin's Creed Infinity was. I I had heard the rumors that this was going to be like a kind of every Assassin's Creed kind of rolled into one thing in some weird mismatch or some multiplayer experience or something. Like yeah, it's way less interesting than that. It's kind of just a hub or a sort of launchery thing. It's like they're Master Chief collectioning what they do from here on.
Oh, I see.
So at the moment, only Codename Red and Hexy have been sort of marked with being under this banner, but it's kind of like it brings the games together kind of thing, whatever that means.
Like a platform for Assassin's Creed, but for the not going back into the past yet. Currently,
not currently, yeah, but maybe
they will.
Well, I mean, 15 years, right? Maybe it's time they actually, like I said, Master Chiefed it, and
I think it would make sense given the amount of money they can make that way, basically, like capitalize on.
Because they've never done
catching up some of those old games.
I think they did a very minor remastering of the Assassin's Creed 2 series, right?
Yeah, I think they did. But they look old, obviously. They're like early 360 kind of.
Yeah, I mean, Assassin's Creed 1 is early 360, and then 2 was a bit later than that. But and they rattled out 3 in 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 is clearly where it's at. So it's like if they went back and did those, that would be like a full remake, then that could be kind of interesting. Even if they just did like the
remake.
Whether it's full remake or even if they just did like the like anniversary Halo treatment to it and gave it a complete graphics pass, that would probably be fine too. But it would have to be a complete graphics pass, right? Like you can't just touch it up. Not at this point.
Oh, no.
Not unless you're Rockstar.
Not unless you're Rockstar, yeah. They're trying to put out GTA Definitive Edition or whatever it was called.
Yeah, that one didn't go well, though, did it? Yeah.
That was awful. Anyway, that was Ubisoft. They had some other stuff, but it wasn't all that interesting. Like Trackmania's coming. The newest Trackmania is coming to consoles, where it's been on PC for a while. I didn't realize Riders Republic went free to play, which is kind of interesting. And they were announcing there's more stuff coming to that. Oh, they're introducing BMX. That was the thing. It's like, hey, BMX is in this now. They already had like mountain biking, right?
I was confused for a second. They already had bikes of some kind.
Yeah, but now they've got smaller bikes. But yeah, otherwise it was basically business as usual at Ubisoft. Nothing hugely interesting going on.
Still no Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Nope, not even a whisper. Ugh. Right. Sony. They did a little state of play, not hugely long, not massively revelatory, but there's some fun takeaways. Tekken 8.
Whoa.
We're getting there, guys. Tekken's getting its 8th installment, and they showed the Kazamas fighting each other on a volcano again,
as you do,
because it's Tekken. But Tekken looks great. Like I don't know. Something about
changed much since 7 though.
No, not hugely, honestly. But that's kind of the thing. Tekken 7 looked great, and then when I got around to playing Soul Calibur 6, Soul Calibur 6 felt like a bit of a disappointment when put next to Tekken.
Yeah, but Soul Calibur 6 was just bad.
It was all right. I've played quite a bit of it. It was all right. I mean, I was terrible at it, but it was all right.
It wasn't like a major game, really. It was just like they kind of shitted it out a bit.
Maybe, yeah. It didn't feel. I mean, Soul Calibur 2 is still the zenith, if you ask me. It's still the best, and I quite liked 4 and 5. They were okay, but like 6 didn't hit the same way. But Tekken 7 was quite a lot of fun. I'm terrible at these Namco fighters, I really am. But like but they look great. I'm up for some Tekken. And now for one of my favourite studios had a few announcements. So Ryu Gotaku Studio, the makers of the Yakuza series, as Dan may have sort of been alluding to earlier, they're putting out a remake. A full remake of a game that has never come out in the West before, and I didn't realise existed. There was a spin-off series of featuring the Yakuza characters in feudal Japan.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know this existed. And it's
I mean, if it's in feudal Japan, then.
but yeah, so it's effectively like, it's so weird because it's presented like a play in a strange way because it's the same character models, so like Kiryu and Majima and all your favorites,
very recognizable.
Yeah, they're all brought in, but they're not playing Kiryu and Majima. They're not named that in the game either. It's like they've just used their faces on similar characters. It's them. Majima's still mental, but it's just in a completely different setting with completely different names. It's so weird. But hey, they're doing a ground up remake of it like they did with Kiwami. And I'm all in. It's like I've got to work my way to it still, but like it looks great.
Yeah. Well, how do you have to work your way to it?
Oh, as in I've got a ton of Yakuza games still to play.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But you might not have
you could play out of order, right?
Yeah, you're right. This one could be out of sequence, I guess. It depends whether when it came out, I suppose, in the real timeline, like to see if there was any like I don't know, any in jokes I might miss out on, that kind of stuff. That's the reason I haven't played Yakuza 0 yet, because in case it references stuff that happened, even though it's the prequel in the Yakuza series, it's it will probably reference some stuff. Because they do that, and they do that a lot. Also, the game isn't called Yakuza, it's called Like a Dragon Ishin. Because Sega are actually going to change the branding. They are moving towards Like a Dragon and being the Western name for every game that comes out from here on. It's kind of a Resident Evil Biohazard situation, because in Japan it's always been called Like a Dragon. That is literally what Ryuga Gotaku translates to. So they are the Like a Dragon studio, and the games are called Like a Dragon.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're bringing it all back in line. Yeah, like I said, it was like the Resident Evil Biohazard thing, except they then made Resident Evil Village instead of calling it Biohazard Village. You know what I mean? They Resident Evil's a better name. I understand why they kept that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if you could even sell it with the title of Yakuza directly in Japan. But I guess we have Mafia or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But Yakuza is like a real problem in Japan. Just labeling your product with the name of a big social problem. Maybe not so good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the studio would have to pay. You need some protection for putting this game out.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So they're doing that. So Like a Dragon Ishin is that one. Like a Dragon 8 has also been announced.
The new one.
The new one, yep, featuring, I forget his name, but yeah, the protagonist of, from confusingly enough, Yakuza Like a Dragon, otherwise known as Like a Dragon 7. Yeah, he'll be back. But Kiryu is also back, and he's sporting a strange, he's gone grey, but he's got like a K-pop hairstyle. It's really weird. It's like he's desperately trying to recapture his youth or something. Oh. It looks really strange, but it's weird that he's back, because like the whole point of Yakuza 6 was it's supposed to be Kiryu's swan song, his exit from the series. He finally got out, kind of thing. Even though most of the games are he's got out and somehow keeps getting brought back in. But that was the whole point in that game. So there's a little bit of what do you mean you're bringing Kiryu back? It's
Did it give much context on where?
Nope. It's in Kamurocho.
No, I didn't mean that sort of thing. I mean what his role might be in the story. Because if we have a K-pop hairstyle, maybe he's just the karaoke avatar.
No, there's no context at all. It literally is just there's some Japanese that's not translated, and then there's a few that are subtitled, and it's just a shadow walking towards the camera, and then it turns into two shadows, and it's and then it zooms in, and it's the last protagonist and Kiryu, and it's that's all we know. And it's out in 2024, so it's not like it's anytime soon. Just to keep the Ryuga Kotaku's news going, the Judgment series is coming out on PC, which is mildly surprising because Sega had run into issues with like the fact that they used a famous person's face for Judgment. Like the lead character is a sort of celebrity, and
like officially or unofficially?
Yeah, in Japan. So they ran into some licensing issues with
their image.
How they could continue with the series. That's why there probably isn't going to be a Judgment 3.
They didn't just change it like they changed
Spider-Man to No, it's the same. It's the same graphics, but it's it's just out on PC now. Both of them, I think. So they came to some sort of deal. It'd be nice if those. I don't know if they ever came out on Xbox. It'd be nice if they did. And if they came to Game Pass eventually, because most of the Yakuza games come with Game Pass. Kind of want to check those out as well. They look good. So as it turns out, I'm a massive Yakuza fan. Like,
yeah, well, I think
more so than Assassin's Creed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
and that's why you don't have time to play Assassin's Creed.
And that's why I don't have time to play Assassin's Creed. Yeah,
because you've got this other extremely long game.
I think that's legit. Especially at this point. I mean, maybe back in the day, like it was a bit more, back in Assassin's Creed 2 time, maybe, and Yakuza was starting. And it was probably a bit
2006, I think, was the first Yakuza game.
But now, I think we're...
No, that would have predated... it might have predated Assassin's Creed just.
I think it probably did, because it was PS2, right?
Yeah. Yes, the first game was PS2, but it was late PS2 here. It might have come out earlier in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. It's an odd series to compare, but if you're comparing video games to play, then...
Long video games, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'd spend my time. I've been getting that itch again, honestly. It feels like it's time, but I know the upcoming schedule for video games I want to play is quite busy. So I will...
All good.
I will deny it for a little longer before I get on to Yakuza 5.
Fair enough.
I just make a little note of this thing they called PlayStation Stars that they're introducing. Like Sony trying to add some kind of loyalty program to PlayStation, I think, for like making purchases off of PlayStation Store. And what it seems to amount to is virtual collectibles.
Like Steam.
Kinda, yeah. But like they're like little 3D models or something. But it just made me laugh. Like it's like, so you can collect these and show off to your friends. And it's like, who is doing that? Who is showing off these? Like come on guys. I've got these amazing 3D models I want to show you.
Or like Xbox avatars.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
because they had game-specific basic purchase rewards.
Those were a little more integrated with the experience, though, right? Your avatar appeared on things, or like you could use it as your profile picture and stuff like that.
I guess.
Whereas these, presumably, you have to go digging to go find, like, I wonder if they've got that PSP model or whatever. Oh, they do. Damn, that guy's a baller. I suppose it's like anything, but like this one struck me as particularly odd. I don't know. We then got to see quite a lot more of Project Eve. This was, I think I mentioned this a while back. I think it was like a year or so ago we saw this come up. It's a character actor game, sort of very Bayonetta looking, but sci-fi, like with a sci-fi edge to it. I think it got a new name. It's now called Stellar Blade. It's coming out 2023 on exclusively to PlayStation, but probably a PC version. They described it as console exclusive. And I think it looks really cool. One to watch. And Team Ninja are making what I thought was going to be a sequel to Neo, but it's not. They're doing some other feudal Japan thing called Rise of the Ronin that also looks very cool. Go check out that trailer. Not really sure quite what the gameplay loop is on that, but it presents itself well. Hey, it's the year of feudal Japan.
The year of feudal Japan.
2 years.
Yeah, because that's out 2024. That's miles away. While we're in Sony land, PSVR 2 has been... people have been getting some hands-on time with that, and people are coming away quite impressed with it. It's a shame then that Sony then, like, after everyone had said good things about PSVR 2, then came out and said, oh, by the way, it's not going to work with PSVR 1 stuff. There's no backwards compatible route.
Why though? What would prevent backwards compatibility?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because like for games I imagine that use them like the I guess the most VR like thing in PSVR was using the Move controllers, right, with the headset, which is not really mechanically different from having better controllers and a headset, right?
Yeah.
It's okay, yeah, the method of detection is completely different because it's using an Oculus style inside out tracking now rather than the PlayStation Eye based I'm going to watch for the lights based tracking.
But you'd think the actual data would be the same, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
Position in space.
Yeah. But why can't they make like some kind of translation layer in the way that PC has done that across all platforms, right? Pretty much any VR game on PC is pretty much adaptable to any headset because they all kind of achieve the same thing. The only thing I can think of is games like Astrobot and Battlezone where your controller was in the space, right? Because there's no way to actually track the controller now because they don't have the light bar.
Right.
And unless secretly the DualSense did have something on it that the headset could see. But maybe there was a way of adapting that because it could have done hand tracking in some way, I guess. Like if they were being really fancy.
Or you just like strap the motion controllers onto your hands while you're holding the actual controller.
Yeah. There perhaps was a route there, but I can sort of see that being the weakness of the system. And like, but then they could have curated to be what games will work and what games
some
don't.
of them would still work.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems like a bummer. That feels like an odd thing for them to do. It basically means like if anyone's got a VR game out, they're going to have to port it, whatever that means, to PS5 and PSVR 2.
Maybe those people actually like that. Maybe the VR developers actually like the fact that they might be able to make some more money using the same product.
That is true. But that kind of sucks also, doesn't it? Really, I'm going to have to buy the same game again if I want to enjoy it better.
Well, yeah, but how much better in that case? If it is just going to be ports, it's not really the improved headset isn't really going to improve the game, really.
Not necessarily. I think, in the case of Astrobot, probably not. Maybe less so in things like Moz, which I can't remember if it had a controller in the world or not. I can't remember how that worked. But things like Super Hot VR and things that actually were like full-on head and move controller experiences, they would benefit because the tracking wasn't perfect on those move controllers.
That's like old ass tech at this point.
Yeah, and it was old ass tech when PSVR came out.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a bummer. It just and nobody really knows whether or not PSVR 2 can currently be hacked in some way to work with PC. That question mark has been floating around. It's like, well, if I bought one of these, could I use it with my PC stuff like I can with every other headset other than PSVR 1? And Sony haven't answered that question either because they won't. Of course they won't. So anyway, yeah, PSVR 2 probably it sounds pretty good tech-wise, but
right, yeah.
But yeah, they dropped a little bummer. A little bum nugget.
Gross.
Right, let's talk Nintendo.
They did a thing.
They done a thing. Yeah. Several months late, but they done a thing.
Yeah, I mean, several months late from what we would have assumed would be the most important one of the year. But I mean, I guess they have done one in September before.
Yeah,
just normally true. After the one in June.
Yeah, it's like they skipped one, right?
At least one, probably two.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
I'm going to say don't get too hype.
Well, no,
I've seen some online commenters actually call this the worst Nintendo Direct ever.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either, but like, I wouldn't say it's a strong outing.
Yeah.
For one thing,
it was funny, given that he's a big Nintendo fan. He was not comparing it favorably with the Sony one.
I think he might be right.
I mean, I watched that rather than the Direct, but it seemed to be mostly farming simulators.
Yep, there were 5. I counted them 5 farming games.
Well,
some of them are sort of like farming and action RPG crosses.
Less farming.
But like, Yeah, 5 farming games.
Once again,
And when I say farming simulator, I mean like Harvest Moon, not
not farming simulator.
Not farming simulator.
Yeah, you're not driving tractors around.
once again, it's the same thing that happened with Battle Royales, where all these other companies have turned up too late. I was going to say the mainstream, but they're actually kind of all indie, really.
Most of them. Square
did.
Didn't Square have 3 of them?
Well,
Square had more than one farming game.
The Square's ones are the less farming-ish ones, right? The indie ones are the more traditional Stardew / Harvest Moon. I mean, one of them is literally Harvest Moon.
Was it? Yeah, one. Yeah, Story of Seasons is back, right?
Yes.
Which is now what Harvest Moon is.
Called.
Yeah.
Yes.
Harvest Atelier, was that the Square one? What was the other one? Was it like Atelier Rising or something?
Yeah, I mean that series has been around for a while.
Is that Square?
Square
adjacent?
so.
Rune Factory. That's farming.
Rune Factory, another classic.
That was a remake. In fairness, Rune Factory 3.
Although they did in that announcement also announce they're going to make new
Rune Factory 5 or whatever it is. Yeah, a lot of farming games. Some other one. I guess Ooblets is out, so we didn't get to have that one on there as well.
That's not exactly a farming game.
It's got a bit of farming.
A little bit, but not really.
It's got a little bit of farming. I think Nintendo's found their niche, and it's farming.
I mean, we didn't even get, Disney Animal Crossing, which you could argue is farming in some ways.
Yeah, I guess. Boy. It got real dull. It was the problem. It's like my god, it's another one.
There was another presentation this year, I think, that we said the same thing about another type of game where it's just like they all run together. Which is like, this is another one of these.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what presentation it was, but yeah, they went through like a block of all of the same games of the same type being together, and it was just like I can't tell them apart anymore. Yeah, I can't remember what that was.
Showing up late to the party.
Yeah.
And then, in probably maybe next year, maybe the year after, Haunted Chocolatier will come out and then everyone will be everyone will move on immediately.
Yep, we're done with Stardew. We've got chocolate now. We are getting a new Fire Emblem game.
Well,
oh yeah.
Obviously, they're continuing to grind those out.
Yep.
Intelligent Systems are continuing not to make Advance Wars, goddammit.
Did you know Intelligent Systems made one of the Mario Karts?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Only found that out recently. Was it Mario Kart? Mario Kart 7? I think they were heavily involved with.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened with the Advance Wars
1+2? That still hasn't come out, has it?
I mean, I think they re-announced it last Nintendo video.
Yeah, they mentioned it was being delayed.
Well, no, I meant I think there's been one after that where they re-announced an actual release date.
Yeah,
after they said delayed.
I think it's pushed out of the year though. But
yes, but it is still happening.
It will happen eventually
because it's basically done.
Yeah,
it's just whether that is enough of a success for them to want to make new Advance Wars, I suppose.
I don't know if that's the problem. I think the problem is that they're just stuck making Fire Emblem more than there's no demand for Advance Wars.
Yeah, Intelligent Systems the Fire Emblem's still selling too well, so it's just they have no need to do Advance Wars from a business perspective. That's the problem with I was watching this video actually where it's like I think Did You Know Gaming did a sort of breakdown on where Nintendo are right now and why certain franchises don't turn up, and it's simply because most of the franchises you like nowadays can't possibly be made by Nintendo internal studios, and it requires third parties to step up to the plate to do. Like Platinum stepping up to do Star Fox, not a great example, right? But because most of the studios are semi-independent, and they kind of have to have the capacity to make those games, and most of the studios Nintendo work with don't have capacity.
But that doesn't mean
it was true that I learned that the Animal Crossing and Splatoon teams are the same damn team. Who'd have thought?
And right, because that must have been a lot of work to make that Animal Crossing game.
Wow. Maybe.
I mean, we'll talk about whether or not it was a lot of work to make Splatoon 3 a bit later.
Yeah. Right, okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, yeah, we're getting a new Fire Emblem. They made it sound like we're only getting one Fire Emblem version this time, as opposed to multiples.
Well, except the main character with that like half and half hair color style.
Yeah, what's that about?
That suggests something else.
Because was it the last 2 or 3 major Fire Emblem releases have been like actually more than one game?
Yes, and in one case, 3 games.
Yeah, it was getting a bit much. If it was a simplification into just one, I think that's wise.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, it was better like that.
Yeah.
And also, like, the other thing that I maybe liked more about this video is, like, they're going back to single units again. None of that weird, like, army stuff from the last one.
Right, yeah.
Because I really thought that kind of ruined the style of Fire Emblem when they tried to make it have these weird, like, fake armies.
It still had the sort of Advance Wars thing, right, where a dude on the map could represent like a few dudes in the like cutscenes, right? Like, about the like infantry could be like several guys.
Not in any of the other games.
Oh, really?
Like, it was just those 3.
Was it just 3 houses? Oh, all right.
3 houses and I think the one before that, right? The whatever that was for.
Oh, I've forgotten.
The one that Corin's from.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't like that style. I preferred the single units. But I mean, it functionally exactly the same.
Sure, it's just a presentation thing.
And I don't know about like what they've shown of the story of this, where it's like, okay, so
Marth.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all about Marth.
They're just going to keep reusing the old characters again. I mean, at least, you can come up with reasons for it. But the thing is, they've already done that multiple times. Like the one I played on the 3DS, you had the like, weird. You had, I don't know what you'd call them, like ethereal battlefields or whatever, where you'd go and fight with the heroes as like regular units, and it was just like a side mission chain or whatever. But now they're being integrated slightly more into the main story, I guess.
Well, I mean, Marth was in almost every scene of this trailer, so like I assume he's critical to whatever this is.
Well, I don't know, because like you get the rings. Apparently, is how you summon these. How you summon the other Fire Emblem characters. But the Fire Emblem is still a thing also, which is the main MacGuffin of Fire Emblem.
Explain to me what that is. I don't think I know what the Fire Emblem is.
Well, in the game that I played, it's a shield, and it has like 5 slots on it for the 5 different coloured gemstones that you need to beat the evil dragon or whatever. So, traditional fantasy RPG MacGuffin stuff.
Right, because they alluded to the heroes being called emblems in this trailer, right? Is that a thing? Is that normal?
Well, I don't know if that is normal. I don't know whether they've ever called that before. But then also they mentioned where it's like, maybe this game takes place 1,000 years in the future. From like when though? Like from the other Fire Emblem games, because they're still fighting that fucking dragon. That dragon keeps coming back, and then you keep using the Fire Emblem to deal with it, but then it keeps coming back. So where Fire Emblem timeline not quite as fucked up as Zelda timeline, but kind of similar. So yeah, I don't know. The rings and the emblem do seem to still be separate from what it appears, unless maybe the rings go in the emblem holes, put things in holes.
So Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Are you tempted by this one because you skipped 3 houses?
Well, yeah, slightly more, but Are
you into all that? Like, do you just want the strategy, or do you like the mix of the strategy and the character nonsense?
Well, the character nonsense in the one I played was...
Sorry, that sounds way too reductive. I don't know if it's good. I mean, everyone says it's good, but like...
I mean, the character nonsense in the game I played was like the old school version of it before it got like full on... like a town that you walk around, whatever. The game I played, it was just, dialogue cutscenes.
Right, yeah. This person wants to talk.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a little bit like, I think, didn't Valkyrie Chronicles do that, where it's like, you could be like, go talk to this person?
Kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it used to be much more of, it was just like a mechanic more than a like conversation. You'd have the conversations, but you only like you're just paging through that, and then they get buffed in the next
right,
when you pair them up. They have a relationship, and then they work better.
Wasn't there like a choice tree or anything in that, or like
kind of like what people had, what relationships was slightly important. to what combos worked better, and then and then once you got to like having the children inherit the abilities of the parents, so you had to choose which pairs gave the best stat combos or whatever. I'm not sure how that or if that even went into games after the one I played, because in the game I played, obviously there was like explicitly time travel involved. So you could have the kids and also the adults in the same timeline.
What were those called? That's really annoying me now.
What called?
The pre-Three Houses Emblem games.
I remember what the one I played was.
Was that the one where there was like 2 you could buy, and then if you bought both of them, you'd get the third?
No, that was the one after that. That's the one with Corin.
Oh, okay. So your 2 before Three Houses is the one you're talking about.
Maybe.
Yes.
Anyway, Fire Emblem. It's still happening.
Where's my boy Roy?
He'll probably be there.
My boy.
I mean, they have already had Ike, so you know.
My other boy. Obviously, Candyman's my boy.
Yes, obviously.
Octopath Traveler. That thing. It's getting a sequel. It's not called 16 Path. It's
I mean, there are still 8 of them again.
Yeah, it's still Octopath Traveler.
And someone pointed out, one of the reactions I watched of this pointed out something that I hadn't even realised, which was apparently also the same in the original Octopath. That all the 8 characters, the first letter of their names spells Octopath.
Oh, I never noticed that.
I was like, that's real dumb.
Well,
that means you have to come up with 2 characters whose names start with O. That's a problem.
True. That is true. I can tell you that trailer. Oh my gosh, standout character from that trailer, and I can remember this quite clearly. A guy called Particio, whose whole one bit of voice dialogue they get: "I'm hitting the road, and I'm not stopping until I end that devil called poverty." And it's like, wow, that's a challenge.
Yeah. Whoa.
And they make him sound like a so he's like an anti-poverty cowboy. Like, what's going on here?
Well, he's the merchant, right? So he's like,
yeah. I'm gonna end that devil called poverty.
He's a communist.
He's a communist.
I'm not coming home until poverty's over.
Oh, it's so weird. But it's one of those.
It's a noble goal.
It's a clearly terrible translation, but it's brilliant.
I don't know if that is a terrible translation. I think that was because he has
weird writing.
What you would call like a Wild West aesthetic.
Yeah, he did.
So I would have said that's the kind of line that some Western merchant going out into the American West to set up shop would kind of say to be dramatic about his goal. I'm going to get out there and sell shit to people.
But to end poverty, I'm going to sell to end poverty. I don't get it. I don't get it. So weird. Anyway, February 2023, you could have yourself some more Octo traveling paths. Get some. It's about time we had another theatre rhythm game, don't you think?
Is it though? I mean,
well, you're getting one anyway.
Well, yes.
Final bar line.
The thing about this is that I was looking at it trying to work out how it plays, because obviously
it was touch controls, right, before?
Well, yeah, sometimes. Like, you can play it with just the buttons, but with it was easier to use the buttons in the battle mode, where it's like the symbols are just scrolling in. But then once you go into the travel mode, where you have the wiggly lines that you have to follow, that's easier to do with the stylus.
Yeah.
And generally the travel mode layouts are simpler. There's less icons to hit, which also makes it better for stylus, because you have to keep others hard. Whereas the battle ones are much more dense. So and I was looking at the video of where they show the icons coming in and everything, and I was trying to work out how that's going to control, because there's definitely, it had the icons where you have to push a direction, but it had arrows on them that seemed to show that you would push in both directions, outwards.
Oh, weird.
So I'm wondering if maybe this is touch controls, you're on the edge of the screen on both sides.
Huh.
That would be weird.
Yeah. Or is it dual stick in some
Well,
way?
yeah, it could just be dual stick. But yeah, whether they'll use touch controls or not, I don't know. Because also, you know, the Switch doesn't have a stylus.
No.
It would just be fingers.
I'm mildly surprised they didn't. That it is a Switch game, right? Like, and they haven't announced it for mobile primarily. It strikes me as a game that there would probably be, like, especially in the Japanese market. Like, I guess that it would find a natural home there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it already has come out on. Maybe I'm sure a theatre of a game already has come out on mobile.
Yeah, probably.
That we never heard of,
but probably like filled with microtransactions, I guess. Like,
it's not like this game isn't also filled with some microtransactions.
Well, isn't it like the base game? Like, I guess they also want to charge $60 for it, right? So It's like isn't the base game like it's got all of the Final Fantasy content, and they then came out and said, but we're also going to be bringing in other Square stuff as the DLC packages.
I think
like,
also,
you love that music from Nier Automata, because who doesn't? It's great. Yeah, that we're going to put that in here as well.
Well, I think they said there's a deluxe edition first that has more of the Final Fantasy music, so maybe not 100% of the Final Fantasy music is in the base game.
Right.
Then there's the deluxe edition with like the rest of the Final Fantasy music, and then there's the DLC packs for various other. But that may also include Final Fantasy music.
I mean, it's worth noting. Like, I'll give them some credit here. It's like, yeah, okay, it looks like Theatre Rhythm again, and it doesn't look like they're doing anything hugely new or different and whatever. But like, that song list is pretty enormous.
Yeah.
Even in the base game, it's like hundreds and hundreds, literally hundreds of songs, and it's like, that's kind of impressive.
I mean, it's not super.
Depends how many of those like they're just like bringing in and like haven't changed the note patterns and that
not
kind of
super
stuff.
bigger than the 3DS one, probably.
No,
I don't remember how many songs there are in that.
but it is for a rhythm game. That's big.
I hope they. I don't know, because like what I'm wondering is if the 3DS had space limitations, if they ran up against space limitations, because some of the songs in the 3DS definitely feel like it's too short. Like, you want the longer version of this song, which allows it to play through, in some cases, more of the song, and in some cases, like a slightly better version of the loop. Like, it cuts too harshly to the loop, and you're like, that's not right. I'd rather play through this loop twice.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have the whole fucking One-Winged Angel as that song. So
right, yeah, but just one loop.
Play one level for a very long time.
I was about to say one loop, but that's long enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, isn't it like... I don't know how I feel about that, because we were talking about that, weren't we, a few weeks ago, like how when you listen to soundtrack versions of music, it's like sometimes they loop it just that few too many times, and it's like, I'm happy with it not looping, thanks. Like, do it the once and like fade it out or something. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You have to find a precise balance between like not enough loop and too much loop.
Depends on the song.
How the song is to start with.
Definitely depends on the song. It's like it came up on my Spotify the other day, but I'd still really quite like the soundtrack to Sonic and the Secret Rings of all things. Right. And it's but some of those like level musics, they loop them like 3 or 4 times or something, I think, on this soundtrack version, and it's like, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
But then they end them properly, which is weird. Like, I guess the original recording was that many times, but like it's strange.
So the original recording has like the real ending, and they just cut the loop out of it rather than it being a loop.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
I mean, it is a loop. Like, they do the same bit like 2 or 3 times, as I said, and then it's like, but they're quite long segments, and then they end it properly for the soundtrack version. Like, I guess they recorded one loop with an ending, and then for some reason for the soundtrack version they put the loop in, and I don't know. It's weird. It's too much. They didn't need the loops. Yeah, difficult problem. Anyway, Theatre Rhythm. It's happening. Unexpected news. On the N64 Game Pass Plus, what is it? Not a Game Pass, N64 expansion pass thing. Nintendo Online Plus expansion pass. That's it. It's a little something.
Yeah.
Hey, GoldenEye is actually going to come out on. They somehow managed to license this thing.
Oh.
Not only that, they're going to enhance it and make it playable online.
Well, I don't know if they are going to enhance it.
They've said online players can.
Well, online, yes, but do you call that an enhancement? That's an emulation layer.
Yeah, I suppose. But I guess they have to do some work to add like matchmaking to it, and
Or
like,
do they?
Or do they? Is it just linked to friends? But there's got to be some layer to do that. The work has to be done, right? It's
But not to the game. It's still the same game.
yeah, I suppose I have to put hooks in to be able to be like, okay, I need to stop now and then actually connect up the players so you could do this. And it's
I don't know.
Sure,
Do
it
they?
takes a bit of work.
they need to detect when that's happened, I guess.
Yeah, but on the emulation layer, it would just be like adding another controller to the emulator, essentially.
Yeah, depends how they do it. Honestly, you might be right. That would be the laziest route. It would be to just like, have it at the emulation layer where it's like invite friend to act as P2.
Yeah.
In which case, they could do that across the entire N64 suite,
yeah, that is
or
true.
like why limit it to just this?
For like Mario Party, which they bring all three of those.
Yeah, well, they kind of just want you to buy more Mario Party actual games, Mario Party Superstars or whatever. Although those are coming to N64 Pass as well,
That's
right?
what I said.
Yeah,
Bring all the Mario Parties. How are those going to work in multiplayer?
yeah. Well, local.
Well, yes.
Are there
I
any
want to say.
GoldenEye re-releases already?
Yes, kinda.
There's certainly
Well, that's the
plenty
weird
of
thing about
Perfect
this
Dark
announcement.
ones, right?
There's not been a true re-release of GoldenEye, the N64 version. GoldenEye was technically remade, but as a totally different thing on Wii,
Oh yeah.
but not in this form. Like because it didn't even come out.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't come out as part of Rare Replay.
Well, yeah, but
Right.
That's the weird thing about this announcement, isn't it? That Microsoft have announced that they're going to release GoldenEye into Rare Replay
Yeah, they have.
as a remake.
As a no, it's
Well,
still
partially.
it's still the original, but it's not like it'll be running. They're taking a different approach. They're not enhancing it in the sense that they're adding features to it, but there are some minor graphical enhancements. I guess like
Fairly, I don't know about
a
minor.
resolution bump. I think it might be closer to like the Perfect Dark thing they did, but not that far. If you see what I mean.
But no multiplayer on Xbox.
But no online multiplayer. Yeah.
But Nintendo gets the exclusive multiplayer GoldenEye, and Xbox gets the graphical update.
So I guess this must be part of the licensing that
Well,
had to go
yes.
ahead, right? The two had to work together to get this to work in the first place, and then they were like,
And then
well,
announce it at the same time.
"Yeah,
Also,
yeah, when there was a whole lot of it at the same times going on, because technically the Nintendo and the Sony thing happened on the same day as well.
Yeah.
And they had an exchange on Twitter, I noticed, where they both announced it, and Sony then sent a message to Nintendo saying, "Big day, huh?" Yeah. Anyway, GoldenEye. Maybe they'll solve the frame rate problem.
well,
Like,
not in the Nintendo version.
I don't know.
Maybe in the Microsoft version.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same game though if it didn't run at like
2 frames.
handful of
Yeah.
frames a second.
You get a bunch of prox wines going off. You want it to chug.
And it would be impossible to see. Yeah, yeah, you really do. It'd be impossible to see where anyone was. Like, that's kind of the part of the game, right? Like, you can't see like more than 50 feet because
Yeah.
everything turns into a mush.
Just imagine with the graphical updates how difficult it's going to be playing multiplayer where everyone can see you all the time.
Yeah.
And you're not just a bunch of pixels in the distance.
I mean, if you want that experience, you can play Perfect Dark. Yeah, you know.
Or you could just play as
Right,
Oddjob.
that's what I was thinking of was
Then
the,
no one can see.
the Xbox re-release of Perfect Dark, right?
Yeah, where they changed Joanna's face.
Was that in Rare Replay?
It wasn't Rare Replay. Yeah,
that makes sense,
And
okay.
I've played that version. It's a good version.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, like, but GoldenEye won't be that kind of.
I don't think they'll go as far
re-
as what they did
yeah.
with the 360 version of
Yeah.
Perfect Dark, but not Perfect Dark Zero, but Perfect Dark.
Yeah, Perfect Dark.
I don't think they'll go that far, but
Okay.
because it very much looked like the original N64 model on the
Yeah.
very brief teaser they've shown of him walking out on against the classic intro.
Yeah, with the gun barrel. Yeah.
Didn't Microsoft show that? I don't remember.
They've only shown that, as far as I'm
Oh
aware.
right, yeah, I do remember because for some, I think when they showed it in the Nintendo one, it was like it was running at actual speed, and then the Microsoft one was like faster,
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I guess not limited.
or like they've reworked that intro sequence slightly to make it slightly less slow because it does take a long time in the original N64 version to it takes a long time for it to actually pan him on the screen when he's coming
Right.
back in the gun barrel.
Yeah, they cut it just before he turns to shoot.
Yeah.
So it's like a... But still weird. Still weird. I've got another note for another Square game that's in the...
almost farming. But
almost farming, but not quite. But it's made by like the Octopath Traveler and Project Triangle. No, wait, Triangle Strategy. Because it's got the same logo, basically.
Yeah. And also a dumb name, which is also how you can tell.
Yep. I mean, this is possibly the best name of any of their ones so far. It's called... I don't know, Triangle Strategy is pretty awesome, but like, this is called Various Day Life.
Various Day Life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just Various Day Life?
Just Various Day Life, yeah. It's another one of those 2D HD aesthetic games.
Is it, though?
What, am I thinking of the same right thing?
Well, I think...
Or am I getting confused? Because Live Alive's in that, like, it's just come out, and that's in that aesthetic.
I think it's half, maybe, because they show it has that, like, 2D view of the town, where you run back and forth, and it's basically one long line. But then I think when you go out into, like, the battles, I don't think that is sprites any longer.
Okay.
Or am I thinking? Or am I getting it confused with another game?
I mean, there was a lot of farming.
Yeah, a lot of similar, like, generic RPG stuff along with the farming.
Oh no, this is not in that aesthetic. This is more. Yeah, this is almost, I would say, sort of edging towards. What's it called? Bravely Default,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Kinda.
That makes sense.
Kinda. Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's made by that team anyway, so they get the. It's got that sort of vibe going on. Square are really going deep, aren't they, with this sort of old school RPG stuff at the moment?
That's true.
They've lent into it hard. I mean, I know that was kind of always their thing. Like, it's what Square are famous for, but it's like I'm sure there was a period where there wasn't so much of this, and now there's loads of it.
Well, it's because they made the engine, and then they're like,
yeah, I guess
we're going to keep using this engine.
Even if they're not all the best RPGs, it is still the kind of their strength, isn't it, compared to being a publisher for Tomb Raider.
That's why they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
There was I had a theory about that actually that I didn't really realize at the time, but it makes perfect sense that one of the reasons they might have sold off their Western studios was because they might have been trying to position themselves to get bought by Sony, and Sony might not have been all that interested in those studios, or they would have made Square too big in order to be like a purchasable entity, so they shed some weight to try and make them a purchasable entity. That's the theory.
A better reason than we needed this money to buy NFTs.
Yeah, better reason than that, yeah. Oh my god. Apparently that they've launched a thing like attached to some like physical NFTs and physical toys. Some weird combination thing. Anyway, it's weird. Don't waste your time looking at it. Factorio's coming to Switch.
Yeah. Which confused a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people who don't know what Factorio is, when it suddenly turns up, and like a lot of the commentators that I saw talking about were like, "What is this? Some kind of another farm game?" It got grouped into the farm game.
Oh wow!
Situation. It's just like, I mean, I guess kind of.
Yeah.
So how is the Switch going to handle a larger level of Factorio or whatever?
Well,
like CPU wise.
Yeah, I don't know, because like obviously they'd already done all the work to make it compatible with controllers for the Steam Deck version.
Sure.
And actually, I think they'd actually already done that work before the Steam Deck even came out.
Right.
And not for the Steam Deck. I think they just done it anyway.
They made it controller friendly.
I think they had also, like, at one point, I don't know if this ever came out, they were talking about, like, a mobile version of Factorio.
Oh, God.
Huh.
So they'd already done, like, a lot of touchscreen control work as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, that part of it, not really a problem, but I don't know how it will
manage
with the processing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just, impose some limits on how big the level could be and that kind of stuff. I mean, limiting the map area, maybe, but you do still need quite a lot of space just for the way, like, the enemies' AI and stuff functions. You need some amount of space for that with the pollution cloud mechanism to have that even make sense. I mean, there is a setting in Factoria's world generation, you can choose, there's a setting that's just the island setting where it only generates like an island. So it has all the resources you're going to need and it has enemies on it, but it's a constrained amount of land. So, you could run it like that. But yeah. After seeing that, cool. when I saw that, I was like, can I see what Factoria's controller implementation is like? But I'm not sure you can on just the base PC version. Like, I couldn't see if there was any options to like toggle it, or if I just plugged in a controller. I don't think that would do it either. Or maybe running in big picture and then launching the game. Like, I don't think you can toggle into controller mode in normal Factorio.
I see. You kind of have to launch it somehow.
Yeah. Or if it is even in there at all in regular Factorio, or if it is fully restricted to... Well, yeah, but I guess the Steam Deck version can't be that different, right? Because it's not really a separate version. It's just, it detects that it's running on the Steam Deck.
It must be there. Must be an option somewhere.
But it's not in the options of the game. It must be like a launch option.
Maybe it just works.
Well, maybe.
Maybe you just move a controller and it goes, oh, I got you, bro. But
it doesn't... There's no, like, controller bindings or anything on default. I guess I should just plug in the controller and see if pressing a button would do anything.
Factorio and Switch. Slightly odd, but I guess follows a theme vaguely. Miyamoto turned up to troll us all.
Well, in the traditional way of the troll and the anti-troll.
Yeah. He's hi, I'm Miyamoto. Let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about the Mario film very briefly, to say it's still happening. Let's talk about I'm busy working on theme parks, because they're still happening.
Are they just bringing the same theme park to other places in the world?
Presumably.
Yeah, I think it was going to Universal Studios Florida.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to the Japan one?
No, I think they said LA, didn't they? It's Hollywood.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, yes.
Hollywood.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's Universal's there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
As well, yeah.
That is correct. And then was like, right, let's talk about video games. Have you guys looked at Pikmin Bloom? and to which, apparently, if you were following chat at the time during the Direct, people lost their shit.
Well, of course.
It's just like, what are you doing, Miyamoto?
Well, he's doing his thing.
I mean, like surely that game can't be that like...
It's not hugely popular.
Well, no, I meant why would Nintendo care enough to do that at this point?
Give him his time.
Like, that game is quite old already.
It's been out over a year. Yeah. It was, that's a very un-Nintendo thing to do, to just be like, not that we're announcing new features for Pikmin Bloom or anything like that, just to be all like, remember Pikmin Bloom?
Yeah.
Remember this? Maybe
unless they were just trying to use it as a setup to announce Pikmin 4, but in like a weird, like an overly extended way. Like, if we can lead in with Pikmin Bloom, talking about the last Pikmin thing we made, and then move on to Pikmin 4, but then they like made the Pikmin Bloom bit too long.
Yeah.
They actually just talked about it.
Yeah.
And then
a nothing trailer teaser thing to say, by the way, we're actually making Pikmin 4.
Yes.
Which, was like 9 years ago since Pikmin 3 now. So, fair enough, I guess. I guess. Sometime next year. That's out.
I mean, this is good news, right?
Well,
if you like Pikmin.
Hopefully, if they make it work better than because I didn't like Pikmin 3 at all, as we discussed on the podcast. Because of the way they fucked up the control systems.
Yeah, because you played the
demo.
Yeah, you played because it was originally a Wii U game, right? And it lent into using the Wii U's screen.
Yeah, and also motion controls.
Right.
And then obviously it's all motion controls when they ported it to Switch.
Right.
Oh, well, not all motion controls.
But
there's still a lot of buttons.
It won't be on Switch, will it?
No, I think they'll have to have a controller-based system. Yeah. A more traditional system.
Yeah, especially for the undocked mode, right? Well,
for docked mode,
Well, no,
primarily.
the controllers
right?
still have motion controls. It's like Splatoon.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
That's what the Pikmin 3 demo just told me, where it's just like, why would you even have the motion controls for this?
So was there not a mode to like just not make that a thing, or was it like pointer based? Then is that like how it worked, or?
Well, I was trying to remember how it actually worked, and then I listened to that podcast as well a bit, of me talking about it. But like, it was this weird like hybrid system where it had like a lock on, and then the motion controls only like changed. It locked the reticle to a straight line, and then the motion controls moved it further out or in.
Oh, weird.
And then if you locked onto something, that changed it differently. And then like the lock on was dependent on which way the camera was facing. So like if you were already locked onto one thing but your camera was pointing at another thing, if you press the lock on button again, it would move the lock, but you didn't really see the cursor because the cursor would remain where it started, and it was just really awkward.
I'm so confused right now. Why make it that weirdly complicated?
Yes, I didn't really see.
Is it a Nintendo-like strategy? Like,
maybe. But yes, that's what I said about Pikmin 3 at the time, where I was like, I was perfectly fine with the really restricted controls of the original.
yeah, Pikmin 1. I still maintain Pikmin 1 is possibly the best
Yeah.
of the lot.
I mean, Pikmin 2 was
Pikmin 2's good.
basically an expansion from Pikmin 1.
Yeah.
But once they got to Pikmin 3 and started messing around with these other control schemes, I don't think it worked as well. And also, the one thing that when I listened back to that podcast, I immediately remembered was like, oh yeah, was like how they made like weird decisions of the controls where they consolidated multiple things onto one button, but it actually made it less convenient. Like splitting your Pikmin groups became like a radial menu instead of just one button press, and it's just like, that's just way more awkward. But yes, I mean, Pikmin works in theory. The other trouble, of course, with to some extent 2, but also 3, was just like inventing new ways to use the mechanics, and I'm not sure they entirely succeeded. Pikmin 1 succeeded just because of it being a new thing, and like it was simple, and like it didn't try to do anything ridiculous. And then once you got to Pikmin 2, it was like, okay, they've advanced the ideas slightly by making those underground segments where it like removes the timer,
Right,
which
yeah.
allows you to do more complicated puzzles and moving things around and more complicated combat, but also makes it kind of less convenient to play because the timer kind of gives you a nice stopping point, whereas when you go to these dungeons underground which have an unknown number of floors, it's like, I might be here for 2 goddamn hours.
Yeah, settle in, boys. And there was no way of saving mid-run?
No, because you only save at the end of the day.
Yeah, so that was kind of frustrating.
And I don't know what the exact structure of 3 was, because 3 had the time limit was, you had the day-night cycle, obviously the same normal daytime limit, but then you also had like the meta time limit of like you were running out of food, basically.
Yeah.
So you had to harvest the food, which was the thing you were trying to collect.
Which made it entirely possible to lose Pikmin, which was quite... I mean, that's why I never finished that game. I got to the point where I got behind and realised I was a bit behind.
Right. You were never
and then was just like, and then stopped and didn't start again because it's like, I can't be arsed with this. This was in the phase where Nintendo were sort of having, they were trying to position the GameCube as having slightly smaller games.
Right,
at the start. Like Luigi's Mansion was supposed to fall into that category, and we'll put out more smaller experiences, and hence that was why Pikmin had this like end state, I suppose, to make you do it again. Not sure that was the best idea. It added some tension and it added some story, I suppose, but like ultimately it's what put me off that game. And I kind of like Pikmin. That's sort of a problem, right? I like it, but I wish I could just sort of like roll back in time to be like, okay, where did I mess up? Can I restart from there?
Yeah, save files.
Yeah.
But then that's too much of a rollback in some cases. When like you've moved on by like 3 hours, but then you realise, I'm behind. And it's like, I need to roll back the last 4 days or
several days. But it's better than starting the whole thing again.
Yeah, maybe.
But in the start of that game, it's quite lovely. So, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's actually... Arguably, I've played the starter Pikmin way more than anything else because the first few levels are the better ones.
Yeah, true.
Once you get to the later levels, it just becomes stress.
Right.
Too many hazards and too many enemies.
And that's most games.
Well, yeah.
It gets harder, and therefore it gets stressed.
I mean, that's kind of why I liked the early parts of Pikmin 2 more as well, because it's like the early underground caves where it's not too complicated and it's not too much combat. It's like these are actually sort of interesting Pikmin puzzles.
Do you think there's a way of coercing Pikmin into being more chill, but still have legs?
Well, yeah, maybe. I was just thinking, like, what if you just got rid of the day-night... Well, not got rid of it, made the day-night cycle completely free form and just, like, made it almost an open-world Pikmin game. Like, don't have it so you have to retreat at night, make it so you can play at night, but maybe, like, there's different mechanics.
Yeah,
like, different Pikmin operate differently at night or something.
That could be cool.
That would be cool, yeah.
So you could just keep playing for as long as you want, keep getting stuff, less restricted time limit.
Yeah, but you have to do it... you have to go about your business in some... It would have to be quite radically different, I think, like to keep the world make sense.
Well, I mean, if you make...
Because that was the whole point, right? You went at night, so much stuff came out that it would just eat you.
Well, sure, but I mean, you could already...
Could you mitigate that?
You could just...
Could it be like Dying Light and like the zombies come out, but you can deal with it if you can deal with it?
Well, yeah, or you could just make up some Pikmin excuse where it's just like the ecology of the planet is dying, so there's less enemies than there used to be, or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Some cutting satire.
I mean, that's what Pikmin does, basically. But yeah, I mean, you could even like, if you made it a more open world game, you could still even keep the sort of level structure by just making... So the map would be one interconnected thing, but because of the way you have the barriers, you could just have the different zones separated by barriers that are only destroyable after a certain amount of progress or whatever, in the way that individual areas in the original levels were.
Yeah.
So you could even massage it into being one big interconnected world, but with different landing sites. So it'd still give you a reason to occasionally withdraw everything.
You just have glow Pikmin.
Well,
you have to leave them in places to cast light, otherwise you're like, if you walk out, a bit like the miasma zone in Crystal Chronicles,
exactly.
Right? It's like if you walk out of it, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you just have some of those with you, and if they die off you, you just have to link
You're real boned, yeah. But you could bring like your normal Pikmin, I suppose, as well, as long as they're in the zone. Yeah, that could work.
Yes. So there's a lot of options, but that's probably not what they're going to do. They're just going to make another Pikmin game.
They're going to make another Pikmin. They're going to do a Nintendo-like thing. It's probably going to have horrid controls.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, we're not even done with Nintendo.
Well, not quite.
Although I don't think there's a huge amount to say here. We now know what the sequel to The Breath of the Wild is now called, and that is Tears of the Kingdom, which some people are saying is a little close to the bone in the UK.
Yeah, well, that was just a coincidence.
Yeah, a little unfortunate.
I mean, yeah, but the structure of the thing is kept. And I guess breath and tears are kind of
face related.
Rob's favourite topic.
Human things. Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 3, Face of the Princess. Like
clearly, it's not as good a name as Breath of the Wild, but
no,
it works.
It's I'm not keen on the name. It's pretty weak, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. My biggest problem is that every time I see what this game looks like, and not just the cutscenes and the reveal trailer is still probably the coolest thing that they've shown us so far. Like, I don't know, is it a little too Skyward Swordy? Maybe.
Yeah.
And like, is it Skyward Sword like the worst?
Yeah, but the Skyward Sword is the worst for like mechanical issues, not because of like the way the world is. Just because there's a bunch of floating islands doesn't mean it's going to be a bad game.
Yeah, I guess it depends how you get around, right? That's the
well, they showed that
the stone bird thing.
Stone bird thing that he lands on, and the way he lands on it,
superhero jump.
I'm suspecting that you just summon that. Like it's a Sheikah Slate ability. Like when as you're skydiving, you just spawn it under you. Because the way he falls onto it so casually, that would be fucking impossible to do in actual gameplay. Right. I reckon the camera is panned up and you don't see its spawn animation as he falls onto it.
Gotcha. Interesting. Do you think like the floating island thing kind of ruins the whole line of sight awesomeness of Breath of the Wild's like
of that original
single
world.
Landscape?
Well,
yeah, because you're always up in the sky.
Well, but you have a different line of sight. You're looking at the other sky islands, and assuming that the stone bird glider thing is maybe freely controllable, it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah,
it doesn't look freely controllable. No, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, we can't tell anything from that trailer, really.
No, I suppose. You can tell a few things.
I mean, the trailer also shows the time reversing thing is probably going to be one of the other ways to get to the Sky Islands, where you grab onto a rock and then time reverse it up.
Huh.
But then they already showed the weird anti-water droplet thing before. So I'm imagining that probably there's going to be a combination of both of those. Like maybe you have to find a rock to time reverse to get up there the first time, and then after you turn on the water droplet thing, you can use that instead or something.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Oh, I see. So the rock goes up the one time, but then it unlocks
or the rock goes up in an inconvenient place, and then you find the
more convenient
drop location.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Tears aesthetic,
and
there's 7 of them. 7 stages,
7 dungeons. Yeah, clearly they're bringing the dungeons back, which is what everyone was
sort of temple things. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like full on dungeons.
They might be. It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously,
it is. I mean, you didn't see any of them, but
obviously, the Sky Islands kind of give you a much easier way to do that in an open world.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
It's a constrained space, kind of like the Divine Beasts were anyway.
I mean, it clearly is the same Hyrule modified, but they've said that it's not just the Sky Islands that are the new part; that there is more.
Yeah, there's one shot in the footage in that trailer where you very briefly see there's a cave entrance.
Yeah,
and it's also on a bit of map that's you can go there in Breath of the Wild and see that there isn't a cave there, so it is explicitly a new cave.
Yeah.
So there's there might be an underground layer as well as a sky layer. But how much that how complicated it is. No,
and even then, even if it was a big sprawling cave network, it wouldn't be as fun as running around on the surface, right?
Well,
in the sky.
Maybe.
Yeah. But the teaser, I suppose, was all underground, wasn't it? Well, initially.
It depends whether that was just a brief,
that might just be like a sequence almost.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe. I mean, I bet that happens pretty close to the start of the game, right?
But also, there's you can see what obviously the Ganon Malice thing comes out under Hyrule Castle, and then Hyrule Castle is floating. You see that in various places, but you can also see the Malice is coming out of Death Mountain. So
that's right.
Maybe the Malice is the underground thing that you have to deal with.
Right.
So while you're in the underground, you're dealing with that because it's flowing around
and it goes wrong, and then hence why it's everywhere.
Well, yeah, and then
breaks the world apart.
Yeah, and then when you're in the cave network, the Malice is the main problem down there. So the sky will have sky problems, but the Malice will be the underground problems.
Legend of Zelda: Sky Problems.
Yep.
Ghost of King Rome comes back, so we can have ghost problems.
I mean, probably. I'm wondering how it's going to deal with the start of that game. Are we going Metroid, basically? Are we going to lose all our powers mysteriously?
Sure. We've actually been asleep for another 100 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
And we wake up and everything's what has happened? And
there's still people clinging on to the potential of the time travel theory. Because they do show, they show Link wearing the weird tunic costume again with long hair, and he's got, a really primitive-looking axe equipped, and it's the time travel theory gets another tiny amount of...
Yeah, he might just pull that out of a lot,
exactly.
You do right at the start of Breath of the Wild.
Well, no, it's more primitive than that, though. It's a full-on stone axe.
Okay.
Kind of axe.
So him and Zelda accidentally find activate the Temple of Time.
Yeah. Or like Link falls into the malice stream and comes out of the past.
Final Fantasy happens.
And then his weird hand thing. I mean, my preferred theory is still that we're getting the Twilight again. Because like some of the aesthetics of the stuff that we've seen looks like, because on the logo where the bottom half of the Master Sword is like the green outline, that looks a bit like the Twilight style, and less like the more light green glowing that they're using for his hand and like the hand grabbing Ganon and whatever.
Right.
And like the design in the stone carving they show that reminds me of Zant a little bit, with his weird cloak.
Sure.
So I'm hoping for Twilight, but I don't think it's going to be Twilight.
I think we're in the minority in liking Twilight more than most people.
I don't know.
I think it's somewhat well liked.
Yeah.
It's just
it's not a bad game. It's just like
it was just seen
it's one of my
as like
favorites, in fact. But
yeah,
and also,
I think it was just in retrospect seen as like the safe option after people didn't like Wind Waker, and when people look back, people like Wind Waker was actually great, and Twilight was a bit of a reaction to.
Yeah, I guess
it's trolls who didn't like it.
That might be why I like it, because it's quite like I didn't get on with Wind Waker, and not because of its style or any of that. I'm not one of those people. Like I thought its style was really cool, but it's like I just enjoyed Twilight a lot more than I enjoyed Wind Waker, and probably because it was more ocarina-y, right, than anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. Because people were wanting Ocarina, next generation when Wind Waker came out, and were a bit disappointed, I think. And that's what, Twilight was trying to redress, I guess. But it has its own thing. It has its own style. It has its own.
I mean, they got Ocarina too, didn't they? Technically, they got Majora's Mask.
Oh, Majora, yeah, I guess. This is going to be more like the Majora of Breath of the Wild,
Is
right?
it? I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be that as weird as Majora's Mask.
I don't think it's going to be a weird sequel.
I hope it's not. I hope it's not as weird as Majora's Mask, actually. But I want it to be a little different from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it'll have a slightly different tone. Yeah, it won't be as out there as Majora's Mask, guy. Yeah, it's true.
The conversation around is this Nintendo doing their end of Switch play kind of a thing again? Like, is this the transitional game like Zelda tends to be?
What, as part of Zelda? Oh,
like you know how Breath of the Wild was technically the Wii U to Switch transition.
I don't think it's just. I don't think that is as valid if it's actually just a sequel. If it had been another completely new Zelda game, then yes. But as a sequel in Breath of the Wild, I'm less convinced.
Yeah, but the Switch will be 6 when this comes out.
Sure.
Which is getting on a bit. By the way, it's got a hard date, May the 12th, 2023. Yep. Said it. Set your calendars to link. So anyway, that conversation is like supposed to like, where the hell is our new Switch? Again.
I mean, presumably it is coming, right? So it could be around that time.
They've got competition now. That's the thing. Like Steam Deck is doing numbers.
Well, and is that really competition for the Switch? I don't know. I guess.
Arguably.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a tricky transition to do, like where they clearly have to make it a Switch and keep the name, but and then do a new console and then really communicate what's compatible with what.
Switch U.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they'll put an extra I in it, so it's the Switch.
Presumably, they'll do everything they can to avoid that happening again, right? But it's quite hard to do. I wonder who's successfully done that.
Because
just call it Switch 2, yeah.
If you make it fully backwards compatible, maybe not forwards compatible, but and just make it. The other consoles do just fine with just incrementing a number.
I mean,
well, one of them does.
PlayStation has basically cornered that, right?
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah, everyone else comes up with
they don't have a monopoly on numbers.
Yeah, that would be cool if they just did that and just called it Switch 2.
Even if they just go the sort of the slightly odd, even if it's like a really late half step, right? And they do Switch Pro, but like force a little bit like, how Xbox did with Xbone and One X. Like, it'd be like, you've still got to support Switch, but the Pro version exists. Even that would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
We've got so many Switch users. Why would we leave them behind? Like, let's.
There's so many Switch users. Why do you need to make a new one?
Yeah, which is in fairness why they've taken so long, I guess. 6 years is a good lifespan. It's good. The time may have come.
I mean, the main thing that you clearly want for Switch 2 is for it to fit the same docks. You don't have to buy that.
Would be nice, yeah.
Make us some small amount of concessions to not have to buy everything again. Make it use the same Wii remote to Wii remotes? Switch Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons, yeah. Or at very least the Pro controller.
Well, yeah, you would hope the Pro controller.
Yeah, I don't think they'll change much. That's why I'm thinking Switch Pro is more on the cards.
I want the Switch Pro to be like the Circle Pad Pro, where it just like you just attach another small chunk of hardware onto the side of the Switch, and it makes it more powerful somehow.
On the bottom into the USB port or something. Yeah.
No, I want it on the rail. I want it on the rail. Like you extend it, like move one of the Joy-Cons further away with another chunk of Switch. It's not got a screen. It's just like it's got a computer. It's like a processor in there.
There's no actual communications line there.
Well, you have like a cable that comes out the bottom into the USB port.
Oh god.
That's about how bad the Circle Pad Pro was.
You want like one of those Razer kits, right, that you slot your phone into? You put like it's a total wraparound.
Right, yeah. You put the Switch inside a smaller Switch.
Switch Inception. I mean, at least then you could use the click noise again.
Yeah.
Click. That was Nintendo. I forgot to mention in the Sony thing, they showed another God of War Ragnarok trailer. And it's like, I don't know that game's trailing all that well. If I'm being but then I had the same problem with the last God of War game as well. I don't think it particularly. That showed better, I think.
Possibly.
I have no doubt it's going to be an excellent game, but it's like.
The original God of War trails, I guess they showed the setup for the story, but they showed that opening, and they showed the graphics were great, but they didn't really show what was going to be truly special about the game.
No, they showed the lake, they showed the giant worm, they showed the they had a combat trailer, right, of the early sections in the game and the first troll fight or whatever that thing was called. I can't remember.
That's a reasonable.
Yeah, so you got a decent feel for what that is. At least how it would play minute to minute, not like the big scale of it, which was also great. But here we've not really seen any of that. It's just sort of story-y stuff, and it's that's kind of fine, I guess, because we already know, players of the first game already know it's going to be that, which is fine. But yeah, I just wanted to point out, it's some people are it's I'm sure it's still going to be excellent. It's still coming out this year, great, good stuff. But it's I'm not sure those trailers are really showing new players, especially why you should care.
I wonder how many new players there really are at this point for God of War.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, and this is a more direct sequel than usual, I guess. So maybe they're not too worried about new players.
It needs to, I guess it doesn't need to sell more consoles, right? Because PS5
there's both all of the consoles everywhere are still selling better than they need to.
It's amazing because they're so expensive and so hard to find. That it's amazing that they do so well. Who are all these people with their PlayStation 5s? I don't know. They're huge as well.
They are enormous.
It's hilarious seeing the PS5 at Ho's place.
Please announce a slim version. I know you don't need
but they're not going to. Not for a while.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it'd be worth waiting for that, but no. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
I did that with my Oh no, I didn't. They didn't make a PS. Did they make a PS4 Slim? I can't remember. I'm not sure they did.
No, I mean they made the Pro. Obviously,
they made the Pro, which was chunkier, and that's the one I've got. But
yeah, I don't think there was a slim PS4.
So I guess don't hold out hope.
No.
Get your enormous white wedge, oddly shaped wedge. I don't know where I'd put it. Well, anyway, then again, I'm going to change what like all my furniture in the living room at some point. But it's like at the moment, I don't know where I'd put it.
Cool. So we've done Sony, Ubisoft, Nintendo.
And final thing to mention, newsworthy stuff: GTA 6, big old leak happening.
Yeah, some
big old leak.
But this isn't like, it's quite a big leak, is it? But it's not like Half-Life 2, the whole game.
No, they're not. As far as I'm aware, the leaker hasn't put out any, source code to people or anything like that. But there's been a whole load of like assets and videos and in development stuff that normally wouldn't get anywhere near the door.
It's like, doesn't that guy know what happened to that Half-Life 2 guy in 2003 or whatever? Like, he's going to get destroyed or whoever he is by the freaking FBI or whatever.
Sounds like he's trying to strike some sort of deal with Rockstar, given some of the
that's going to backfire, blackmailing them, right?
Yeah,
he's going to be in prison for quite a while.
To their credit, Rockstar has turned up and basically been like, we had a network intrusion event, and it seems like some of our stuff got stolen, including the new Grand Theft Auto. So they are admitting that, hey, GTA, not only is this from GTA, they're just admitting it's GTA 6 stuff.
It's not really a secret that they're making.
I think they have sort of vaguely said. Like, they haven't done a big announcement or anything like that, or a tease or anything like that. But there's some like official art, isn't there, out in the wild? Like they're not their standard like GTA sort of like looking box art sort of thing. The same sort of box art style they've had since GTA 3, I think. Like some of that's been out there already. That was probably leaked as well, I guess. I don't know if that was officially released. Of course they're making another GTA. Of course they are.
And so the leak sort of confirmed the big picture things, right? Like, it is Vice City, right? Miami, is that right? At least partially.
Yeah,
I think that was in the leak. And
a female protagonist.
Female protagonist, yeah. So those are the big things, which we already kind of knew.
Yep, heavily rumored.
So I guess that's interesting. I don't see how Miami's not going to be a big enough city to sustain like GTA 6. So, I mean, maybe it is, but
it probably is if they do it like real scale, right? Because GTA 5 city isn't real scale, right?
No, but how do you make that fun? Like, a real scale city isn't fun. You need to make it more dense with, gameplay than a real city. So,
well, they can do whatever the hell they want. That's the point, right?
I guess so.
Just mush whatever they want in there.
Because if you just have a real size city, then it would just take longer to get
anywhere.
Interesting things. Yeah, I don't know. So, but I don't know what the other rooms, but there's nothing else that I can see from it that's interesting. But yeah, that's annoying that anything got leaked at all, really. But there's no real huge surprises.
It's kind of interesting in a way to see some of this, any kind of like production stuff depending on what audience you are, it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I'd rather see that as like a documentary thing about a release game than,
I guess,
something that people are trying to work on at the moment.
I think Kotaku did put out a little thing saying it's like, hey guys, don't panic. All games look like this at some point in their dev cycle. Yeah. It's like, don't worry, this isn't GTA 6. This is hugely in development GTA 6.
You definitely can't judge like graphics or anything.
No, absolutely nothing. You can't base anything on what it is right now.
No.
It's not even announced. Like, when you're in that state, it's like they're clear. And in Rockstar's statement, they were like, "Look, we'll share stuff with you when it's ready."
When it's ready, yeah, of course, yeah. Oh well. I mean, it's a thing that happened, I guess. But yeah, not a good thing, but not a disaster.
No, definitely not a disaster. If anything, it just reminds people that GTA 6 is around.
Is going to, yeah. Right, that's the news, which is most of the podcast, I think.
News. We've been on a long time. Jeez.
Yeah, this is like an E3 episode or something.
Should Apologies.
We what we've been playing? Zach, do you want to go?
Well, fortunately, I've got even less to talk about this week than I did the last 2 weeks.
That works out well.
I just want the only main thing, I guess, is well, obviously I played Small Zelda because of the power cuts. So I have been continuing to play Breath of the Wild.
Get your battery power on.
In preparation, I guess, at this point. I've got like another 8 months to finish this run.
Because you hadn't had enough of it with like after 130 hours of stabbing.
No. And then the other thing, I guess I've been playing Deep Rock again a bit because, there's an event happening, Oktoberfest.
Oh, balls, right.
Yeah, you've been missing out on double season XP.
Oh, man.
Get back in there.
I've been missing everything this week, though.
Well, that's true.
Like, I need to play Rocket League at some point. Like, get this week's weeklies.
Yeah, maybe. But yes, the Oktoberfest is it's a bit of a kind of weird event. Like, DRG's events are usually not super, complicated. It's an assignment. You get a couple of hats. And this time there's a new pointless beer to buy.
Super.
Which doesn't do... I was hoping it would be slightly more interesting than it is, actually. Because even the joke beers are kind of interesting. But this joke beer is, like, not even super interesting in its jokeness. Although it does have a funny name.
Well, that gets most of the way there.
Well, yeah, I guess. It's the best worst beer. And it comes with a sausage. In the beer.
Sign me up.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a funny name and then a slightly funny animation, and that's really it. It doesn't even seem to have a voice line attached to it.
Oh, odd.
Which is kind of a shame. But then when the actual event part of it is in the missions, you have to find the mug because, oh no, a freighter supplying all our mugs crashed, so you have to go and find the mugs.
Okay.
But that's really, that's quite a nothing. It's just like somewhere in the mission there's a mug and you put it in, you deposit it and that's it.
Put it in Molly.
Double XP.
Okay.
Or double season XP, not double actual XP.
Is it like just one then?
Yes, just one.
Wow, that could be quite difficult to find.
Not really.
Okay.
I haven't had a situation where we've actually had to look for it. We've just found it just by walking around. And also when you get close, there's a voice line that triggers once you get close.
It's like, I smell some coffee or something.
And it pings the map.
Huh.
And then when you dig it out, a swarm spawns. So slight amount of content, I guess.
I see.
But yes, there's not much to it apart from the double season XP, obviously. That's the important thing. If you want to complete some more of the unlock tree before the end of the season.
Oktoberfest!
Yeah. So I've been playing that with someone else as well. Still only 2-player, which I really want to get into some more.
I know. I need to try and coerce the Cambridge crew into playing some more.
I did play a couple of random online games. Where I was just let me just join some game and see how this goes.
Yeah.
Because, people say that the community is fine in Derg. But, I didn't experience really any community. It was just we went in there, we did a mission and we left, and that was it. So, we're always playing with bots.
No need to talk particularly.
No. In fact, one of the missions, there was literally not even any text involved at all. We just did the whole mission. And then in the other mission, it was because it was a Dreadnought mission, there was are you ready? And that was it. Yeah, okay. That was the whole dialogue of that mission.
I guess was there well, I suppose it's not so much of a problem in Derg compared to something like, I don't know, Left 4 Dead, where you'd get one guy that would just dick around, basically, or just not be paying attention to what the rest of the team was doing, and that was a real big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas in Derg, it's not really...
No, you can get away with that. I even, completely fucked up my loadout, and I was just that doesn't even matter. Because I was spawning in as a class that I hadn't played for a while because I was I had to be gunner because it was on one of the servers where it's where they'd chosen to lock it to class.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm filling the gunner slot, but I'd forgotten that I'd recently unlocked one of the frameworks for one of the gunner guns, so I'd been looking at another gun.
Oh, I see, but not kitted it out.
But it still had a loadout on it, but it wasn't the loadout I would have chosen for this mission.
Right.
Like it was the autocannon. It was like configured for splash damage, but this was the dreadnought mission where you really want single damage.
Yeah,
but it didn't matter. It was just fine. Who cares? It's just DPS. Shoot at the thing.
Shoot.
But yeah. It's definitely more interesting in more multiplayer. More enemies. That's the main thing.
Right, yeah. More madness. Yeah, I'll coerce more players back into it at some point.
Well, this event is a good time to coerce people.
Yeah.
Give them an extra reason.
I just need to put down my other problems.
That's true. But now you can talk about, at least one of them. The main one.
At least one of them. Quick shout out to Hollow Knight. I'm still working my way through that.
Right.
Just I haven't put too much time into it this week. But that game is now pretty... Okay, the hardness is creeping in. It's getting tricky.
Yeah.
And I think the problems with it are starting to get slightly exacerbated. Like the world is sometimes too big. Where you have to go is sometimes not clear. I think that game's just too big, actually. Like, I think that's its core problem. I think it's too big and too long. Like, I'm actually losing a little bit of momentum with it now. Not because I think the content is getting any worse. I think I'm getting a little tired. Although I do, you do still find things. Like I found the Colosseum for people that have played the game, I suppose. I found the Colosseum of Fools was the last thing I stumbled across, which is actually kind of fun set of combat challenges. There's like 3 you can go through that are like set up events, and the arena's changing around you and what's being spawned in around you, and they're long fights. And I've done 2 of those out of the 3. The third one, I get stuck in one particular spot all the time. But I really need to see if there's a easier way of getting to it, like before I leave, because if it's a pain in the ass to get to, it's like I don't want to have to haul my ass all the way back to it, if you know what I mean. Because it's like this game has some fast travel options, but it's like sometimes that's the bigger problem. It's like I actually don't want to go there again because it's quite a trek to get there. Yeah, it's still real good, but it's just it's starting to wear a little thin now. And I don't know if that's just a problem because it's the Void Heart edition I'm playing, which has all the extras in it, like all the free updates they did to it are just all there now. I don't know what's new and what isn't. It feels pretty consistent the whole time. It's hard to tell. Anyway, yeah, I'm working my way through it, but like I've put a lot less time into that in these past couple of weeks because Splatoon 3, and it's taking away all of my time, like to the detriment of everything else.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, I mean, I still love it. It's Splatoon 3. Like, let me get that very clear before everything else I'm about to say.
Before the Rob review.
Before the Rob review happens. It's like I still love it. It's still It's got its hooks in me deep, and I'm playing it every day, and I'm like. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so happy like that they've made some like core changes. Like Salmon Run is now 24/7. Like there's no scheduling to it at all. Like they cycle out how often you can get. Like, do you remember the sort of like the balls you got out of it? Like you're the peas you would earn, and then they would go towards the gacha balls, and then the gacha balls would give you rewards. Those refresh. And the level changes and the weapon loadouts change every 30 hours, which is a weird number, but whatever. So they are cycling around relatively frequently, which is nice because it gives you
a bit long for one map.
Yeah, I mean day almost, right? It's like you play it one day, come back the next day, then take a day off, and then come back and do it the day. Like it's enough, and it's. So that's okay. The rest of the scheduling is all pretty much the same as it's always been. Like the maps, there'll be a 2-map thing on, and that will rotate every 2 hours. Same with the ranked modes. The ranked modes will change on the same 2 hour cadence. That's all the same. Yeah. It's difficult to know what to say else in praise of it. Like, okay, let's talk about the campaign. Like, because like the campaign is interesting because they've taken notes from the Octo expansion. I think it leans more on that. It's presented like all of the previous campaigns have been in. Like there are areas and there's kettles you shoot and you go into a level. But the key difference here is that you no longer have the option to do every level with every single weapon type. They've backed away from that, which was a thing in the first 2 games. Now the levels are sort of spec'd out for specific weapons. Some of them let you do 3 different weapons, so you can rerun them a little bit. But some of them are like, oh no, this is only going to work with this one specific weapon. So you'll get like grenade only levels or curling bomb levels, and it's like okay, clearly I see what you were doing here, and that kind of stuff comes from what they were doing with Octo expansion in Splatoon 2, with these very more specific like challengey sort of levels. I wouldn't say it's been as creative as Octo expansion was just yet. Like I'm missing some of that kind of like weird and wildness of it. It feels a little subdued, I suppose, compared to Octo. That said, it's still well made, and it's just one of those again, if you see what I mean. And that's kind of the feeling that pervades most of Splatoon 3, is that it's one of those again. It's still great, but I can't shake that feeling that it's like perhaps they should have been more here, or perhaps
in terms of
or just
content or changes, like
kind of both. Like, okay, it's the biggest a Splatoon game has ever been at launch. That's that statement that Nintendo made. That is true. It's got the campaign. It's got 12 maps for multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's got one of every weapon type, like right off the bat. Sorry, like at the start of the game. That's all there. It's got the locker thing, in terms of like, if you just add up raw features, okay, fine. It's the biggest Splatoon game at launch. It's going to need more maps over time, and it's going to need more additions. Like it just has to, because it's probably at the current. I don't think it's as big as Splatoon 2 ended up, if that makes sense. But because so little has really changed at its core, it just begs the question: why? Why is this not just like a Super Smash Ultimate? And like, why is not everything here? I know they want to eke it out over time and be like, oh, we're bringing this back, and oh, we're bringing back this, but this time it feels artificial.
Yeah, because they could have easily just ported all the maps to Splatoon 2.
It's because it's nearly the same game. Like, okay, the balance is a little different here and there. They've changed a few minor mechanics here and there. All the specials. The weapon sets have all been mixed up. So, like, Splatoon's thing is you never really get to choose your full loadout. You pick a gun, you pick a weapon set, which is your gun, your sub, and your special, and those are all predefined. That's still about, and they've mixed all those up because they've got new specials and they've rebalanced a lot of the specials. It's like apparently every special is in the game, but it's like not all of the specials that you liked from the previous ones are going to be on the weapon sets they used to be on, if that makes sense. If you're a big fan of those Tenta missiles, like you're fresh out of luck. There's not many weapon sets with those in. Or the Ink Storm. There's like only 2 weapon sets, I think, that have the Ink Storm in it. I do think one of the specials has been removed from multiplayer, like to be replaced with something that is way more powerful and annoying. I kind of wish they hadn't done, but for the most part, it's just rejigged content, not hugely new content. So yeah, I would have liked for them to throw everything at the wall. Salmon Run in particular feels like a victim of that.
Yeah, because that even had way less maps to start with.
It had way less maps. It got the least amount of support over Splatoon 2's life.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, it has 3 maps,
which was I think that was how many it had at the start of Splatoon 2, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So no,
and two of them are returning levels, I think, and one of them is new.
Right.
And I forget where it got to. They still didn't have many, right? By the end,
Probably like 6,
5 or 6, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, and you feel it in Salmon Run. I've probably almost played more Salmon Run than I have any of the other modes because it's so crazy addictive.
Yeah.
But it's but I'm feeling that problem already.
Well, I would have said that you would feel it more with the one map rotation.
Right, yeah, that you're playing the same map, like because it's the only map for that day.
Yeah,
yeah, and that is a problem too. But at least the sort of variety of waves does keep Salmon Run somewhat fresh throughout the time. So it feels like they've changed the modifiers a bit. So the probability of a normal wave feels lower,
right,
than it used to. Like the probability of something weird happening is much higher. Like for high tide seems to happen way more frequently than it used to, which is really annoying because like I've got myself up to a pretty difficult level or like already, and it's like high tide is next to impossible at this point. But they have added stuff to Salmon Run. I should be a little bit kinder to it. Like they've added a couple more boss salmonids, so the things you have to do are a little more varied just in a normal fight. There's a couple more special events. They've added some polish here and there in terms of the music and stuff like that. And obviously the big thing is there's every now and then after you've built up this is why I play a lot of Salmon Run as well, because there's an extra gauge, there's an extra collectible in Salmon Run now. So as you play a match, and if you click, the more you play, the more this King Salmon bar starts increasing. And when I don't know how that relates to other players that you pair up with. Maybe it's trying to pair you with people with a King Salmon level similarly. But when your level gets high and is near the end, you're going to get a 4th wave in it where a massive King Salmon appears. And you need to take part in those if you want to earn the new currency, which is scales. And that you can get some special unlockables like different coloured suits and things just for Salmon Run, or stickers for your locker pointlessly. But they're all done in this new currency, and you only get this stuff from King encounters. So I'm playing quite a lot of Salmon Run to build up King encounters so I can do those to earn the scales. But as I'm finding, King encounters are nearly impossible. I've only managed to do one, and that was when my level was like super low. It was like the first King encounter I did, and we beat that super easily. Like everyone since then, we've failed horrendously. Whatever team I've been in is just like we suck at this, because it's like, okay, for one thing, it uses whatever the tide level was at the end of wave 3. And for me, that has almost always been high tide. So it made an impossible step even more impossible. It floods the level with like salmonids, regular ones, boss ones at the same time, because the idea is you're supposed to kill the boss ones to get the golden eggs. That's the whole point of Salmon Run. But the golden eggs become a weapon in this mode. So you have to kill those to get the eggs to fire at the king, whilst the king is still flapping around the level, taking up most of the space and being like an instant death machine. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's a nice addition, for sure. And the game doesn't care, actually, particularly if you complete it or fail it. It's just like, if you're interested in the extra currency, you need to be completing this thing. Because the extra currency has grades as well. There's bronze, silver, and gold scales. There's technically three currencies. Anywho. But there's only 3 levels. It needs more levels. It desperately needs more levels. Yeah, it just feels like it got the raw deal here for some reason.
Well, I mean, you think in the Salmon Run there'd be even less reasons to not port those directly in.
Yeah.
Like with the actual levels, I guess you could make arguments about like, but then you have to change how the spawning works because the old spawning system doesn't work the same any longer. So you have to very slightly alter the map.
They would have to make some minor changes. Like I guess some of the new boss salmonid type. There's one that drops a steak on the they fly a steak in, and I guess that has to land in specific spots, right?
I guess. Does it though?
I don't know. It depends how the game works, right? Like it has to be accessible and you have to be able to get up there, I guess.
It just has to be attached to some flat surface. That could be practically anywhere on most maps.
Could be, yeah. So I guess there's those. There's the guys that bring a cannon with them and put the cannon on the ground.
Yeah,
I guess
that one's slightly more complicated.
They might need a specific spot to do that. But that can't be that difficult, right? It's just like, right, these guys can go here, here, and here, and here, and these guys can start there. Like that's not a tricky thing to do. I guess they would have to. Well, even the boat would be easy because you're not on a boat on these new levels. No, like, there's a helicopter that flies around. It's like you just have to not have a bit where the boat is and just have this thing fly around. And like there you go, problem solved. But yeah, the music production is still great, if a little unvaried at the moment. Like it's going through the same arc that the previous Splatoon games did as well, even on the music front, where it's like it starts off all in that sort of, I guess, the traditional Splatoon style, and then in Splatoon 1 and 2, like they then added music tracks to the game in updates, and those were like introducing a different band or something in the world of Splatoon, so they'd have a slightly different vibe added into the mix. At the moment, it's all kind of the same Splatoon vibe, so like I'm kind of waiting for those updates to happen to flesh it out a bit. There's a Splatfest next weekend already, so
brilliant.
That will change the vibe again to go back to what was on in the demo. Or maybe we'll get a third. Maybe we'll see what they do with the weird stage this time round. Because I've definitely done some ranked matches on the level they used for the turf war last time, if that makes sense. Like this, that level is just a normal level. So yeah, well, let's see if they get weird with it. I hope they get weird with it. They've still got me.
Yeah,
they've still got me. It's still great, but
it doesn't sound that negative, to be honest.
No. It's fantastic. It's just. I think the whole if you fall into that category of like it is the same again, and or they're just spinning their wheels, and it's like this is an artificial sequel. Why didn't they just keep Splatoon 2 going? I feel you. I can see that totally. Most of what is being done here could have been achieved in an update or just more Splatoon 2. Like there's not enough reinvention here necessarily. Which is odd given how long it's been. Oh, and that card game. I've played that card game. Yeah. It's not that.
A built-in card game.
There's a card game in there now, so you can earn. Basically, they've tried to make a tabletop version of Turf War. I think that's literally what it's called.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you're laying cards that have a certain amount, that create a certain amount of your color on a board, and it's about territory control and then eventually surrounding certain special tiles. And once you do that in a sort of Carcassonne monastery kind of way, that then gives you a special point that you can then use on certain cards that will actually allow you to paint over the enemy's ink and stuff like that, so you can fight back a little bit, and it becomes a little. Yeah, that's the idea anyway. It's supposed to represent a little bit like that, but with a few extra rules over regular Ash, just ink the ground. And I don't know, it's not all that interesting actually, as it turns out. It's an interesting little addition, but it's not that interesting. I'd much rather they brought back the little arcade games that were in the first Splatoon.
Oh yeah,
that never came back in Splatoon 2. Heck, I'm not even sure. I still don't know where the sound test is in this one, because that always used to be a thing in Splatoon 1 and 2. There was like a sound test machine that was actually like a little hidden rhythm game. And it's like, I haven't found that. I don't know where that is. Or if it's even there. I bet it's not even there. Splatoon needs a sound test, though. Come on. Listen to that music.
Yeah, good music. You want to be able to test it independently of the game itself.
Yeah. I mean, they've mixed up some other things as well. Like you can level up your gear now and add like just pay to give it more slots. So like if you buy some of the early gear that was like only
Couldn't do that before.
I think you had to use super snails from Splatfests, but now you can just pay money.
What, like real money?
But no, not real money. Like the in-game currency.
Okay,
whatever it is, the coinage.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a few. It's a little more flexible in some ways. There's a gacha machine now that you can pay to play like for cheap once every day. But if you want to play it more than once a day, it costs you a bit more. So you can, because now they have player banners and player titles and stuff for your locker. There's all kinds of extra collectibles. So there's more stuff. But it's like I kind of wish that like some of that stuff unlocked way faster than it does, because I've currently only got 3 possible titles, and like it's 2 halves of title. Like you pick a first half and a second half, and that combines into your like your player title. And it's like I've only got 3 at the moment on each side of that, so I haven't got many options. And it's like I've played quite a lot of this in the last week, and it's like, how have I still only got 3? They seem to come out randomly from the gacha machine, as far as I can tell. There's probably other ways of earning them, but I can't figure out where. So I'm currently an avant-garde artist, is my title. It's not as cool as Nostalgic Paradigm that I had in the demo, but but maybe I'll get that back. Splatoon 3, it's a real good time. You're going to be hearing a lot about it forevermore. Yeah. Except maybe there's not that much more to say.
Not much to say.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I'm sure we hear a few tales from the Splatfests.
Oh, I should talk about connectivity. It has been ropey as hell.
Oh,
yeah.
Which affected your enjoyment of it then?
Up and down. So they have a rule where if a player disconnects mid-match, it tends to kill the match rather than.
I see.
Rather than, I think in the previous games, like if a player left, they would actually just carry on. Which was no fun.
Yes.
So now their approach is like if a player leaves, it just kills the match, and it's like at any point, pretty much. It's like
it's a different kind of no fun.
Yeah. So I think if it happens within the first minute, the player that left gets a loss, but everyone else is like gets away with it. Like I don't know what happens after that first minute. I think they tend to just result in like some kind of error occurred message, and it's like, but it's nice and upfront about what happened if it happens within the early on in the game. But yeah, that can make it a bit frustrating, especially when I was on one round where I had a hell of a run. Like in the first minute, I got a full team wipeout myself. Oh, I like that, actually. The game highlights when the entire team has been killed.
Well, that is kind of important information,
yeah.
Especially in like actual ranked games where you have objectives to get to.
Absolutely. It's a nice little reminder to be like, they're all dead, go for it. I do like that. So yeah, I managed to score one of those on my own, and I was like, yeah, boy, this round's going to go real good. A communication error has occurred. No.
Well, I mean, obviously someone was going to quit after that.
Yeah. It was so frustrating. But there's no like in-game way to quit. The way you have to quit is to turn the switch off.
Yeah, or home menu.
Or home menu it. Yeah, do something like that. Like
close application. Yeah.
Yeah, the game itself doesn't offer you the way to leave, which is still frustrating in some parts. Like you can't leave matchmaking once you've started it. Still, like I think it's fair enough if you want to dip out of matchmaking. Like, I'm looking for a game doesn't mean I'm committed to playing a game now. Can I please just say, that's fine, I'm out. Like, once you're in a game, fine, sure, lock them in. But why? I don't get why you still can't just jump out. A bit of me misses the lobby menu music. Like, because there's no cool, like, wobbly thing you can do with the audio anymore. That's all gone because you're in the lobby now. Where the music's like playing in world, so you don't even hear that clearly unless you're the brief moment you're stood in the booth to say, yes, I want to play now. So that's a bit of a bummer. I quite like to listen to that music, thanks. Where's my weird guy going? Like, where's he gone? Which is, again, all of this kind of counter to the rest of my argument, right? It's like I miss the things that aren't there, that they didn't bring back. And yet I want new stuff at the same time. I'm a contradiction of my own desires. I am part of the problem.
You just want more stuff. Whether it be old or new, just more.
Yeah.
Maximal stuff. I mean, that's the Smash Brothers way, isn't it?
Yeah. The obvious stuff as well that they're going to add is there's none of the stickered weapon sets, right? Because that was how they modified things later on. Like you would get a stickered version of the weapon that would change the sub and the special that was with it. It would be the same base weapon, but none of that's in the game yet either. So if you're looking for a bit more variation on your weapon sets, it's like that's not there yet. And I guess those all just roll out over time. Still, what was it? The Splatoon 2 update cycle was about 2 years. So look forward to 2 years of updates, I guess.
Or more, who knows?
Or more, yeah.
Or less if a new Switch comes out.
Pro, exactly.
Yeah. I guess, the only final thing on connectivity is when it's latent, I really wish there was a way of you being able to see that you're in a latent game or something like that, some kind of like indication, because it feels horrid like when you're in a latent game. Like, because it's one of those games where it's like, I was totally shooting at that guy and like, why did my shots not hit? It's got that feeling all over it at times. And I know that's slightly weird in Splatoon because the bullets aren't like hit scan weapons, right? They are everything's a projectile. So it's it's not instant like the hits and things like that. But there's so many moments where it's just like, you can feel the lag catch up, I guess, slightly because you've suddenly been hit by a much weaker per shot weapon than you, but it's like all landed at once somehow, and it's kind of like, and you're dead. And it's like, well, that can't happen with that gun. So what on earth just happened? And that feels a little off, quite a lot. And the main reasoning people are giving for this stuff, it's like, that's because the Switch's Wi-Fi kind of sucks. It's like, it's not the network's fault per se. It's the fact that the Switch's Wi-Fi is not brilliant. So, like, if you used an Ethernet adapter, then maybe you'd have a better time. But like,
you could do that. With
you can do that. Yeah.
But that wouldn't always help because it's peer-to-peer, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes the person
other
hosting
players
the
are
game
still
would
the
be on the
problem.
wireless.
Would be on the Wi-Fi, yeah.
The other players are still the problem. Yeah. So
it
even that
certainly will be on Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah. So that's not going to help you much either. So it's not a perfect experience, but it is still hella fun most of the time. It's just not as solid as like a Fortnite or a Halo Infinite or other modern online games. Anywho, I should stop talking about Splatoon. I'm out.
There's plenty more time to talk about Splatoon in future episodes, I'm sure. Cool.
Are you going to come in? Are you going to get it a bit later, Zach? Like for the co-op salmon running, or I mean, we've got like another year of stabbing to do.
Yeah, still
like in Hyrule Warriors, which we're still doing, but we won't talk about that yet.
Really, a year's worth more?
I mean, we've got a whole nother game. Like,
well, there is that, but we might not play that one for as long potentially.
We'll see.
That one might peter out.
It might not be as good,
or we might get through the like main line and then still have like hundreds of hours of content that we won't actually get round to.
Yeah, because I mean, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is known for having a almost endless end game if you really want to engage with it. But I don't know that we will. That's probably a step too far. But it doesn't mean you could probably go back to it whenever you fancied it, which is nice. If you see what I mean, you could go back to it and have something different, quote unquote different, and have something else to do. But like, you don't necessarily need to tackle it all at once. Anyway, who knows when we might get to some more Salmon Run co-op. Depends on whether Zach will pick up the game. But there's so many choices to come. There's Bayonetta 3 that Zach definitely won't play. There's Sonic Frontiers.
Who knows if I'll play that? I mean, I might play it in a video form with Rob, potentially.
We should definitely do that.
A fun video. Yeah. Speaking of which, we should probably wrap up this podcast
By talking about our other videos.
by talking about our videos that we put out on YouTube. So visit our Happy Salad YouTube channel to check those out. There are other Sonic videos on there, myriad Sonic videos from various games of varying Sonic quality over the years.
We still need to finish Sonic Advance 2.
Move on to 3.
Yeah.
And more recent videos.
3 will be interesting to me because I've had very little exposure to Sonic Advance 3. It's a hole in my Sonic knowledge. I'm excited for that.
So yeah, Sonic videos there, and we also have other games such as our recent playthrough of Ocarina of Time. Check that out, and more recently, I think we have Into the Breach. So check out our collective noggin scratching on that, which is pretty fun. And this is the podcast that you've been listening to with all the news and all what we've been playing, and we'll bring that to you again in a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.